How about 25 push-ups?
All right.
In one sitting. It doesn't have to be like right in a row, but
Right.
25 would be sitting. I'll do it tomorrow because I was going to do chest day tomorrow.
Ooh, yeah.
All right, welcome back
To the Reverend and the Reprobate.
Yep. I'm Dan Gibson.
I am Lucas Pinker. Thanks you guys for listening.
Yeah. If you're new to the show, we are two best friends. One a actual reverend, which would be my cohort over here.
Yeah. Hey,
And
everybody.
I am not a reprobate, but it was a funny title.
It was. And we've had some...
I have reprobatic moments.
Yeah, and if you've listened to some of our earlier episodes, you know that those are... Those are moments that we're quite proud of.
Yeah, I probably
Though our
leaned,
mothers are not.
I probably leaned very heavily into them.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I still do. But anyways, this is us. This is our attempt, our best attempt at trying to necromancer both of our respective careers.
Yeah, we thought we'd be at a different
With
place
a very
in
lack
life.
of respect.
Yes.
But anyways, welcome to the show.
Anyway, yeah, thanks very much. I feel welcome being here, Dan.
Good.
Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
If you weren't here, I couldn't get in the door.
That's true.
So
That's true.
thank you.
I do have the key to the studio.
I would have made a trip out here for nothing.
Yeah. But it's been a weird week.
Yeah, you're telling me.
I did. We took the big majority of our chickens out to the farm this week. They went out to their permanent resting place, which makes it sound like they're dying, but they're not dead. We took 20 chickens to Pink Moon Farms. We had an assortment of chickens that we took this time. So there were some Polishes, which are the ones that have like the big poofy heads. We took some, I want to make sure that I get this right, some Starlight Green Eggers, which is a very specific brand to Hoover Hatcheries that went out there.
Do they poop out green eggs?
They do, yeah. Yeah, they're like a light green, and then you've got the olive eggers, which are ones that, the Starlight Green Eggers look like tiny emu eggs.
I'm a brown egger.
Are you? I could see that. He's very organic.
Yeah, it's very organic.
Yeah, so the Starlight Green Eggers, it almost kind of looks like Easter eggs, and then you've got the olive eggers, which are some others that we took out there, and then some black sex links that we've had for a while that are now big enough to go out there, as well as several silver-laced black Wyandottes, which are all really cool, very pretty chickens. So they are now at their permanent home at Pink Moon Farms. And so then we decided we were going to blend together the hens that we had left. And there is a reason that whenever we talk about organizational hierarchies, that we talk about it as a pecking order. Mm-hmm. And that actually comes from how chickens...
From real life, yeah.
So after a couple of days, we have had to take out 6 of the chickens that we had introduced into the big coop, and we've had to take them out because they're still so small that they are getting just completely abused in the new coop. I say that 2 in particular are. One was missing a lot of feathers already because of a couple of heavy rains that we had, and so the chickens were pent up, and so she was one that they had pecked at particularly rough, which just, it stinks. And so there's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's because you don't have enough room. These chickens have like 6 square feet per chicken to run around in, which...
They still clump up and peck each other.
Yeah, they still like get in this little group, and they've got more than that, more than enough, right? Because 2 square feet is all a chicken needs in its coop. Right? So if a chicken's in a coop and it's got 2 square feet, they say that that's enough to kind of space everything out. Well, anyway, these chickens had like quadruple that in a covered enclosure so that they could stay out of the rain. And yet they still, all of them, clumped into this corner and just spent all day just yanking each other's feathers out because they were bored. I'm like, you've got so much room. Like, yeah, I don't know.
And also food that aren't feathers, right?
Yeah, chicken mentality is beyond me. So, or it's just below me enough to where I don't quite understand it.
It's very technically below you. So
I would hope so.
So how long have you been married at this point?
How long have I been married?
Yeah.
6 months.
So are you trying to set a world record from Getting married to transitioning to empty nesters.
To literal empty nesters. Yeah. No, the chickens that we have are the ones that we're going to keep.
Kirsten's going to be all depressed and sad, and she's going to need to go get a job at the college.
So since the last really intense losing of chickens, right? She's
kind of checked out.
She wants to wait until they're just not going to die all the time anymore.
Yeah.
Except that now that we're down to the chickens that we're going to keep, and even though we've got them separated now into 2 coops so that the younger ones can get a little bigger so they can kind of fend for themselves whenever we reintroduce them. We saw at DNL Farm
more
and Feed
chickens.
They've got
or ducks. You can expand?
No, they're bantam. They're assorted feather-footed bantams. Mm-hmm. So there's no telling what you're going to get. But since they're bantams and they're only a few days old,
is that a weight class or is that
yes, it is. And it's so the bantam weight class comes from the chicken classification because the chickens are so tiny. A bantam chicken max is 4 pounds, and the chicks are yay big. They're just at an inch or inch and a half tall. And if you could have heard the sound my wife made when she saw these, she was like, yeah. What is happening?
It went to very high registers.
All the chicks looked at her like
the dogs started howling.
Yeah, it was horrible. We might be getting some more chicks.
Will these be your chicks? Are you going to keep? I mean,
I don't know. We've got enough chickens that are multiples, right? We've got a couple of frizzles, we've got a couple of Spitzhaubens, we got a couple of some other things that maybe we just keep one of each of those, and then we send the others to the farm because they'll when they're grown they're fine. But it's that weird thing where we're at now, where it's okay, which ones do we want to keep? Which ones want to go out there? And the people at Pink Moon Farms, Matt and Autumn, do want, at this point, they still want to have a lot of breeding options for their chickens. So we're not sure yet what all we're going to do. And it will kind of depend because this is an assortment of rare feather-footed chickens that, we'll kind of just...
It's too many adjectives.
I know, right? An assorted, rare, feather-footed chicken.
We have 100 freaking chickens.
Yeah, but they're really cool. They're all probably going to have great coloring whenever they get older, and most of them are some kind of cross with a silky. Now they also have a bunch from the Myers hatchery that are assorted rares from the Myers hatchery that are all bigger chickens. And they are
foghorn, leghorn big.
Some of them, yeah.
I'll say, boy.
We've got one that we named Lady Clucks after the Robin Hood character from the Robin Hood animated movie. We've got her. She is about 2 months younger than our oldest chickens, and she is the same size as them. She will probably end up an average chicken is between 7 and 9 pounds.
They better be nice.
She's probably going to end up being 12 or 13. Well, that's the thing with her. They don't have to be nice. She is the one that when we have a wounded chicken, we put it in with her because she has the total mother hen mentality.
She's got the command.
Oh, yeah. And she'll just fluff out her wings and she'll sit around it. And she'll just take abuse from other chickens.
I like her.
And she just... she just sits there and protects. She's a friggin' monster, in some ways. She's really sweet, and if you pick her up and just put her on your arm, she'll just hang out. I've had her on my shoulder for an hour at a time whenever I was doing yard work, and she's just there, And then every now and then, if something gets too close to the shoulder, she'll cross over to the other side. She never seems like she's particularly happy about it, but she will just chill. So we've got her and then Ms. Frizzle, who's a little frizzle chicken that is with her, and that's the one that she has protected the most.
You're doing really good with names.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Lady Clucks and Ms. Frizzle, they just walk around the yard together all the time, and it's just the most hysterical thing. They're of all of the chickens that we have, they're my favorites, but I think of them as a package deal. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't think, I can do this one, this. No, those two chickens go everywhere. And while the other ones will spread out to get their food and stuff, these two don't. They are never more than like a wing's length away from one another, and it's
Sweet.
hysterical. They're great. So yeah, those are little Ms. Frizzle and Lady Clucks are the greatest little hen friends of all time. What do you call hen friends? Maybe that's good. Maybe hen friends is it. Maybe we did it.
I'm having a hard time thinking of something better than that. So
yeah,
I would probably accept that, or also give me, give me 20. I'll think about it.
Okay, 20.
I've thought of a couple inappropriate ones already, and we're just gonna have to save those in the tank.
Okay, I'm ready for that, and that'll be in the subscribers portion.
Yeah,
which we don't have, and probably won't.
But if you would like to subscribe, it's $5 a month. You just take your $5 bill, roll it up, and put it in your USB little hole right there.
Yeah, as a wise man once said, Bubs from Homestar Runner, somebody cram a lemon jam and a Swiss cake roll into the disk drive. I've gotten my wife to watch several episodes of Homestar.
Uh-huh.
She does not find it as romantic as I do.
I mean,
because it's so, she has no nostalgia connected to it. She really has no nostalgia connected to anything Flash, which also means, what was the thing on Newgrounds? I forget what it was called, but we used to watch it all the time. Yeah, it's a great start.
Was it the stick figure guy?
Well, it was kind of stick figure, but it was like a kind of Matrix sort of thing.
Yeah, where he would walk in and he would kill
just
all these other stick, and it would be like a 15-minute video of him
just
making
annihilating
he had to kill
stuff.
the sheriff. That's what it was. Yeah. And he would clear a room, and they'd be dropping from the ceilings. And it was so amazing.
What was the name of that?
You were right.
Newgrounds was the website.
Newgrounds. It had a name.
Madness.
Yep. Amazing.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I think that would be one. Homestar Runner, which anyone in our age bracket probably is at least aware of it. But yeah, Homestar Runner was funny. My favorite, hands down, Strong Bad, which I don't think is a hot sports opinion. It's probably most people's favorites.
Yeah, well, the Strong Bad emails in particular, right?
Emails! Yeah. And he always talked about the cheat. Strong Sad was hilarious.
Sad was great.
I'm going to quit just describing all of the characters from it, but yeah, it was great. I'm not surprised that she didn't care for it, because in retrospect, like when I watch it now, it's mostly nonsense.
Yeah.
I still do like the Strong Bad emails.
The Strong Bad emails like stick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like they weren't specific to like this style of humor in this way. Like the scripted stuff was brilliant. Mm-hmm. Like Teen Girl Squad.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like okay, so I was listening to, do you know who Doug TenNapel is? We've talked about him before on the show, I think. He's the guy that created Earthworm Jim.
Yes.
And all that stuff. So Doug took over writing for VeggieTales, and when DreamWorks purchased VeggieTales, and then Netflix decided to do the VeggieTales series, Doug took over for them, but he knew nothing about VeggieTales. He just had this idea and this great pitch. Well, when people were like, "Okay, you've got to start watching VeggieTales. It's so great," and he never did. And then he watched 1997 VeggieTales in a 2016 context. Well, it wasn't funny. Mm-hmm. He didn't understand why the Hairbrush song, that people thought that was hilarious. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it in light of what the other children's programming was at the time, like it's genius.
Yeah.
But if you think
the other was awful.
Yeah.
Especially church stuff.
Right. But if you think about it in light of,
which is why I want to make explosions.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you look at it in a modern context, it's a little rough, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about, it hurts him from an animation standpoint because he's a professional artist and animator, and that there were a lot of things that these guys just didn't do well, and he was having to work with them. And so he really plainly lays out how big a challenge and undertaking this was to go from this tiny studio with this niche market with big idea into that, and now you're putting this forward into a new context and trying to make it relevant. There is not a way that I can see that Teen Girl Squad and Homestar Runner and Hamsar and all of those guys.
Yeah.
Like I don't see that there's
Marzipan.
that there is much of a context where they're still objectively funny, except for the strong bad emails. Because there was no running storyline, there was no premise to anything.
It's an email that he replies to, and he picks apart. He doesn't understand it fully,
and he's a jerk.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious. Yeah. And did you know that they've got them all transferred over to YouTube now?
Yeah.
It took them forever because it was originally in Flash. It took them forever to.
These are all the strong bad emails, or every video,
everything from
homestarrunner.com.
But I've rewatched all of the strong bad videos over the last couple of years. Still hold up.
Trogdor
still is as good as it ever. So if you
you can go YouTube Trogdor.
If you, the listener/viewer, ever come visit my church. I say my church. If you ever come visit the church that I get to pastor, at First Baptist Church, Lake Dallas, 307 South Lake Dallas Drive, Lake Dallas, Texas, 75065. You can come Sundays, 10 a.m. Or sorry, we've changed all the times now. Sunday morning Bible studies at 9:30 a.m. 11 a.m. is worship. We're back in Bible study on October the 4th. So come check it out. You'll really love it. In every room in this building, there is a Trogdor. It is hand drawn, and it is in every room, and in some of the kids' rooms where
it's a little lightning bolt, right? That's how he started it. It was something like that. Like he made a
consummate V's.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
So if you look at, or no, it's first you do an S and then a more different S. That was how you started it, and then you make So
why do I feel like Samurai had something to do with this?
She actually didn't.
Oh, really?
No, she went along with it.
Okay.
But yeah, she wasn't one of the curators of this art.
Okay.
But if you go to any one of the rooms, that there is a Trogdor in every one of them, and it's in the murals that we used to have in the kids department. He was hidden.
Awesome.
Like he was the.
I'm so proud.
We had this airplane that was in one, and it was this really cool looking airplane that this.
There was this one dragon with this big muscly arm.
No, he was a sticker on the dash of the airplane. So she drew an instrument panel on the airplane, and then he was there like as a sticker on the dash next to all like the warning stickers and stuff. It was awesome. But he's not there anymore because that got painted over. So now he's in a new location in that same room. But yeah, he's in every. That was one of the things I demanded when we repainted. I was like, okay,
Trogdor.
Well, you got to do this. And the people are looking at me like, what is that? And I was like,
what is a Trogdor?
That is what's going in.
It's the Burninator.
Yeah. He burninated the countryside. He burninated the peasants. He burninated all the peoples.
Yeah.
Because he was Trogdor.
Cool.
So I'm curious if I might ask you this question. How did stuff go on Saturday? For the surprise bachelor party?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It went very well.
Good.
Except that Chris had a impacted tooth. I'm sure he would be fine with me telling people.
Well,
this.
I guess that's better than what Kyle's got that's impacted.
Yeah. No, his face was all swollen up.
Yikes.
Probably fast forward. This would be funny. It was kind of funny to me, but I didn't want him to be in pain. But we were basically all sitting out in the living room waiting for him to come out of his room.
Right.
And so his fiance went in and coaxed him out. He came out, and then he had a great time. It was just what he needed to, a couple weeks before the wedding. So for those at home listening, Chris is a very dear friend of mine. He's my wife's cousin who grew up very close together. He's getting married in a few weeks. We really wanted to do something for him, especially in COVID. It's hard to
and Chris is
figure out some of it. And he's not
a cool guy.
And he's not the type to want to go to a bar to celebrate. Like he would want to do it his way, which was a guess of ours was let's get family and friends together as in a small group, and we'll have several TVs with video games, and I'll cook, and I made shishito peppers, and we made meatballs.
Did you get a hot one yet?
No. They're all delicious. I think it's actually the best that I've ever made, the shishito peppers.
Good.
And my sister-in-law came over, and she came up to me and she said, the only reason I'm here is shishito peppers. Where are they? Which she meant jokingly, but she does love the shishito peppers. And they were awesome. But yeah, we had a ton of food. His, pretty much all of his immediate family came over. We played video games. We played dominoes, I think. I didn't, but they did.
Other people did?
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. It was super cool. I think it really, I probably half the reason that a bachelor party and a bachelorette party is important is it's a celebration of the person. They're about to go through a big step in their life, and it's a big positive one. We want to send them off in the right way. So that was really the point of what we did.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that are against bachelor parties and bachelorette parties because they're like, oh, it's just an opportunity for debauchery. Like, no, it's not. It is, why do you need a last hurrah? But
it's not.
It's not really.
If you're doing it right.
Right, and your life is about to change exponentially. Mm-hmm. And there is no amount of counseling, no amount of conversation or good advices or whatever that will actually prepare you for the life change that you're about to go through. Even my friends that lived together for years that got married, like something changes when you get married. Mm-hmm. And your wife turns into a different human than the one that you dated.
It's the wife that changes.
Yeah. Yeah, when a woman becomes a wife, something happens.
The aliens return her brain.
Yeah.
And then she finds herself married to this doofus.
Right. That's the big thing, right? Is that
the aliens take their brain. What age is it when they're girls?
Girls at 13.
And when is it boys?
16, when we can drive. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's it.
That's great. Yeah. So from the ages of 13 to 25 or 34, they have operated with no brain. Aliens return it.
And this is not one of those like...
And there's this doofus that's there drooling.
Yeah. And what am I... And so there's a lot of people who we've explained this...
I have to cook for you?
Right.
No.
And
pick up your socks.
We've explained this theory to a lot of people, and they're like,
"Oh, your toothbrush isn't wet.
Women just have to have a man to get their brain back." We're like, sort of, not because it's any like level of incompetency on the woman's part.
No,
but
both sexes lose their brains.
Look at us.
Yeah.
No human, especially not someone as wonderful and graceful and fair as the women that we've married, would marry us.
Yep.
If they had their brain.
Yeah.
The fact that my wife lived a portion of her mind brainless is evidenced by just calling her my wife.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. I feel like the argument done.
Yep.
We're done.
We're done with that.
Yeah. But that's it.
So we celebrated with both of them. So she stayed because cool. I agree. I don't know. I hear the word bachelor party. I immediately kind of groan. I'm like, I don't know. It's a whole thing. Can we just do it at my house and play video games? Oh, perfect for you. Great. Let's do it.
And it is. It's not like a last hurrah. And there's gonna be
plenty of hurrahs.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that like huzzah. A lot of stuff like stag parties and things like that have really turned the idea of the celebration prior to marriage into something that is bad, right? Where it opens up the doors for a lot of opportunity for things that are potentially harmful to your relationship in perpetuity to happen, right?
Yep.
But I think if you do it properly, which is just like your last night before, or your last night with your friends before your life changes forever, and it's as much a celebration of that as it is anything else. Like nobody balks at a work party. Like, oh, we're gonna throw them a going away party. Everybody's like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's throw them a going away party. Now, naturally, whenever we think, oh, we're going to throw somebody a going away party, nobody's going to be like, well, there better not be strippers at this going away party.
Work parties typically have HR pretty close to, which keeps it tame.
Right.
And therefore not fun.
Yeah, there's that aspect to it.
That's my God alarm.
Nice.
I had to keep it.
Yeah, cool.
I was talking to Siri. I don't remember what happened, but I was talking to Siri, and Heather and Kale walked in and started talking, and I just said, my God, and then let go of the Siri button. because I was trying to set an alarm. That's what it was. And it heard set an alarm for 7 p.m. My God. So I say a little prayer when that comes on.
Yeah, so there we go.
I thought you'd appreciate that.
I enjoyed
and I did not turn off the alarm because it's going to come back. I mean, another day.
Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not going to come back in like 5 minutes. I'm going to have to address it again.
Right. So, where were we?
I know. I
Backtracking.
derailed it excellently.
So the idea of like a work party or like a retirement party or things like that, they're not things that we balk at. And obviously there's a different stigma with it, but it's the same thing. It's celebrating the union that's about to happen. And at the same time, it's an opportunity to, I guess, sort of put to bed your singleness. Mm-hmm. And everyone that I've been to, because I didn't go to ones with like people that I wasn't close with, because I don't want to participate in a lot of garbage, and there are a lot of people. There's a reason that there's a stigma for it, right? Mm-hmm. That when I was with those people, they were these really great, heartfelt times where like our married friends gave really good, solid advice to our friends that were getting married, and we had the opportunities to get to do. Like our last chance to do stuff that our wives would probably be like, that's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. And it's as much for the married guys as it is for everybody else, because it's they're getting to relive their last like single moments. Yeah. And so
they get to screw with their friend.
Yeah, that's it. So for like 24 to 36 hours, you are the idiot that your wife who was brainless married again, you know? So it's awesome. I'm glad you guys had a good time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Again, I'm down with bachelor parties as long as they happen at my house.
On your terms.
On my terms, where I don't have to leave. And I got food and TVs and video games, and I wanted to play poker. I didn't get to play poker, but there's a ton of stuff to happen at my house. There's no reason to leave. This is what I've come to terms with. And in fact, I had a no travel policy for 3 months when we purchased the house. That I told my wife, do not make any plans. If there's anything going on, they can all come to us. I'm not leaving. So people had to come over for 3 months. And now I travel, but it's got to be under.
I travel?
I travel.
You drive 25 minutes max?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's probably the furthest that I go.
I don't even think you can get to the airport from your house in 25 minutes. Like, it'd be pushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't travel?
At the moment, no.
No. Not for so many.
I'm in it in the very literal use of the word, that I do travel, but it's for very short spurts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have no business leaving the house. Why would I do that?
I don't know.
I'm not one of those guys that...
If I were you, I wouldn't.
Yeah. I'm not one of that constantly have to be doing something. They're never stopping. That's not me.
Can I tell you what I did on my Saturday?
Yeah.
I went to a gender reveal party.
Yeah, tell me about that. I got a bunch of texts from that party.
It was... My wife is one of the most generous and incredible people on the planet. Mm-hmm. She has a friend who is having a baby and doesn't have a lot of people around her right now. Mm-hmm. And so Kirsten planned his gender reveal party. Like,
oh, she did everything. Okay.
Yeah. And then there were some family members. Yeah, there were some family members that helped out and that she'd been in communication with for the last month and a half in order to get all this stuff planned out. But as far as I'm concerned, went above and beyond. Kirsten's like, I could have done more. I didn't do enough. I'm like, will you calm down? Right? So the girl lives in San Antonio, but she's from like the DFW area, and so they drove up from San Antonio. Kirsten's been trying to coordinate everything from distance, and then ends up making it, so where they can do it, and it's in this little suburb of DFW, and so we get there. The party's supposed to be from like 1 to 4. We get there at 11 a.m. to help set up, and it was, I guess, as good as a gender reveal party can be. Like, what
was the gender revealed?
Yeah, it was revealed. So the girl who the party was for had all these like very cute ideas that I'm sure she got off of some stupid Pinterest page, but nothing worked. And so what it turned into during the prep time was, oh, Kirsten's husband can fix that.
Yeah.
And
he's got a pocket knife.
So they had, yeah, right. So they had this like pegboard that they had created where they just took these dowels and glued the dowels onto this board. Well, they glued.
That's not going to hold weight.
And not only that, but they painted the board before they glued it on. So all they glued the peg onto was glue.
It's paint.
Yeah. So they glued it onto paint.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it gets weight, the paint is peeling off because it's a latex paint.
So did you find out immediately because they put one up and it fell down and...
Well, we had to,
so what was it again? What did it hold?
It's a pegboard that was supposed to hold donuts.
Okay.
And they had blue donuts and pink donuts. And then they had the thing painted. Well, they glued it on after they painted it.
So how did the reveal... I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
So the gender reveal happened with like these little twisty confetti things, which was...
Okay, so the blue and pink donuts had nothing to do with the reveal. It was just a cute way to go get a snack.
Right. And so what I ended up having to do is... Then there's like...
Don't overthink it,
There's
ladies.
like 12 of these. Yeah, please don't. Don't think it.
Donuts make me go nuts. There's no reason to overthink it. Just have a table of donuts.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Go ahead.
So I had to drill in the back of this thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I had to place the dowel.
You're
and all I have... Yeah, right. And then they're like, don't make a mess. Somebody literally told me that I've got this drill. I'm drilling through this piece of like press board so that I can screw this peg on. And they're like, okay, well, you need to not make a mess with it. I was like, okay. You know what?
There's so many things to say.
Yeah. So you say nothing, right? Because the best thing to say is
yes, ma'am.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'll do that for sure. Yeah. So I drill through the back of the board, and then I get the peg, and I'm like drilling blindly into the peg, hoping that the 2-inch wood screw, which is all they had, will go in there properly and not just jab me in the finger. Good news was I was like 5 for 5. So then we put the board up, and the girl wants the board standing straight up and down, but there's no bracing system for the board. There's nothing. And she's like, well... So
did you put on a quick physics class for her?
Yeah.
9.2 meters per second squared.
Boom. Yeah. So we're like... Actually,
9.8.
Her mom's a physics teacher. And so there's these decorations that she wants on the wall, and she wants the board to not cover up the decorations. And so, like, we can put the board at an angle, or we can put the board at another spot. She doesn't want...
Is there anything else you'd like me to do?
She doesn't want the board at an angle. She wants the board to stand up, but she's got no supports for the board, and now the board's supposed to have weight on the front of it because of the donuts and yada, yada. So she was like, I just don't know. I need a quick fix, blah, blah, blah. And so they're trying to, like, engineer some kind of thing where they can just stack stuff up. Meanwhile, I go grab a piece of scrap wood and a cardboard box, and I just screwed so I had the thing, and then I put the box, and I put the piece of wood inside the box, and I screwed the piece of wood in so the box is sandwiched, and then I filled it with horseshoes. And they're like, what's that going to do? We need a real solution.
It's going to do the stupid thing that you want to do.
Yeah, I put it on the table, and I was like, can we stop with this now? They're like, that's just a cardboard box and horseshoes. Like, I know.
You know what else it is? Working.
It's fixed.
Yeah,
that's what
working
it is.
Is what it is.
So I get all this stuff fixed. And I've done so with a smile on my face.
Are you planning on keeping this as a permanent fixture?
My wife. It's not ours. It's not ours. Yeah, and it's not even something that like Kirsten put. But
if you're not planning on making this a permanent fixture,
they did want to keep it.
Okay.
I'm right.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. So
hire a handyman.
Yeah. So I do all that, big smile on my face.
Good job.
I
would too.
I'm a hero in my
wife's
wife's eyes.
I would too, but I also would be talking crap about it.
Right. Yeah, so I'm a hero in my wife's eyes, which is really what counts.
Yeah.
Right? Like
you want to make her look good.
Yeah. And so I walk outside. Now the parents of the father and the parents of the mother have never met each other. Okay? So we're at
who's this attractive young man?
Yeah, so we're at
fixing stuff.
The parents of the
He's
mom's
going to make a great
house.
father.
So we're at the mother's folks. So the maternal grandparents.
Okay.
Outside are the paternal grandparents. And I walk outside, and the paternal grandmother looks at me, and she goes, are you, and I'm not going to say the mom's name, Are you her dad? I was like, no, I am not. I am Kirsten's husband. And she goes, oh, I don't know which one Kirsten is. I'm not familiar with all these new people. So I walk back inside. My wife is younger than the mother of this child whose gender is to be revealed. And I just walked over to her and I was like, I love you. But this lady just asked me if I was your friend's dad.
We can never come here again.
And she just starts cracking up. And she was like, who was it? Who was the lady? Come to find out, like, later.
It's the paternal grandmother.
It's the paternal grandmother who, as we're, like, all sitting at a table together and Kirsten's, like, telling stories and everything, she's like, oh, so this one's Kirsten. It's like, and she goes, is there an age difference between the two of you? No. There's an age difference between every human being that exists. There's always an age difference.
Someone's always older and someone's always younger.
Yeah, even if it's twins.
Unless
there is an older twin, right? That was birthed first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, not in. Is there an age difference between the two of you? Yes. So
that sounds
the finale
less cool. Oh, we're not even at the end.
No. So this young lady was very particular about what she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And was a little upset with her dad because her dad wasn't there when she wanted him to be there so that she could pop off the little confetti cannons, which were blue because she's having a boy.
So you were standing?
I was not.
Okay.
Though I could have been, apparently.
As the father.
The dogs.
Of the mother.
Yeah. Wolf.
You're the baby's mama daddy.
I think that works.
Yeah, it does.
We'll have to make a graph.
It's a little awkward.
Either that or, like, in the background on the video, we'll just put that, like, beautiful mind stuff. Like the Rain Man thing.
Right before I say the line, I'm trying to think of...
Just giant equations just start, flowing across. Oh, the baby's mama's grandpa's daddy. So anyway, we're about to do the confetti cannons. Well, we can't find her dad. We can't find the actual dad. And his place, he's got this giant ranch that we're on, and they left the dogs out at their house.
Who?
The dad didn't. He just let the dogs be in the house. Yeah, okay, great. Thank you, Baja man. So you're horrible.
Yeah, I know.
What's worse is that it took me a second to get it. And I'm like, you're like, who? I'm like, the dad did.
I was sticking it out.
Let the dogs out. Who? Yeah, that'll be fun to review.
Who? Okay, go ahead.
That was the Baja Men, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, the one-hit wonders of Who Let the Dogs Out. How that became a famous song and nothing we did. I'll never know.
Just like the doggy bounce from Fly the Conchords.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, man.
Super specific reference. Let's not go into it. But.
Nope, sorry, inside jokers. So we're looking for her dad, her actual dad. Mm-hmm. And the dogs were at the house. And we're just at the house. And
what kind of dogs
he had to run
about?
Up just a couple of really good-looking
mutts. A couple
mutts.
mutts.
Yeah. Okay. They ate all of their heartworm medicine for like the next 10 months, which apparently is like super deadly.
So they're very healthy?
Yeah. No, they're about to.
So the dad had to drive them to the vet? Is that where he went?
No, because it's Saturday afternoon. We can't hardly get a hold of a vet. So we get in touch with my sister-in-law, who is a vet. Mm-hmm. And works with a lot of animals and helps with research and development and is brilliant. And she's like, you're going to have to, like, just make the dogs drink hydrogen peroxide until they throw up. Ugh. So that's what he does. And his daughter is down there, like, melting down because Daddy is not down here for us to pop off the cannons. It's like, oh, my goodness.
Did she know?
Yeah. Yeah, she knew what he was doing, but she didn't want him to wait all the time up there until the dogs actually started puking because the lighting was really good. So poor stressed dad finally gets down after he make the dogs puke. No.
So she doesn't have a brain still.
Nope. After she makes the dogs puke, or he makes the dogs puke, comes back down. He's like, man, I hope they're okay. He hands me the camera and gets it set up for the light. Shows me how to do the multi-shot. Like, all right, so we're going to get 100-something shots. I'm just going to hold it down. It's going to rapid fire the camera. And so we do it, and I hold down the button, and I'm getting ready to take the picture, and the cannons go off, and I click it, and it just goes.
Oh, no. Single shot.
Single shot. when he refocused everything, it took it off of multi-shot mode.
So you've got just like a limp balloon already, or not balloon. I'm sorry, cannon.
The picture I got.
My question
was
does not
pretty
apply.
good. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good.
Okay.
And we got some HD video, which he's going to have to take some stills from that. But, that
sounds like a successful unveiling.
Yeah. But when they found out that there wasn't,
my first question was the most apt.
Yeah.
Was the gender revealed?
Yeah. Blue.
Done.
The baby is blue.
Yeah.
So boy, I think. I mean, until he determines he wants to be something different. So, the dad's like totally distraught, and looks at the camera and is like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't. Oh, I didn't." And his daughter comes over and she's like, "Did you get it?" And I looked at her and I was like, "I messed it up."
Good job.
And she just looks at me and she's like, "Ugh." Turns around and like walks
You have
off.
been dropping the ball on everything today.
Yeah. And he looks at me and he goes, "I'll tell her." Like, "Hey, that's up to you. Like, I'm just willing to take this one." He's like, "No, I'll tell her." So he goes and tells her, and she was like, she comes to me and she's like, "You didn't actually mess it up. Daddy did." I was like, "Oh my, unreal." So that was my gender reveal party. It was good that was the last gender reveal party that I'm ever going to go to. It was the best one from my last one. So I would say first or only all of those. It qualifies as all of those.
Yeah.
So, and I think I convinced Kay that this is not something we need to do.
I was about to ask. I mean,
yeah, I think we determined
there's a real possibility in your not so distant future that.
I mean, it'll be a few years, but
a few years is not that distant.
Yeah,
maybe 5 years. Still not that distant.
I know.
But anyways, we'll move on from that. So, what's something you like this week?
So I've got two things, and I'll be brief.
Don't be brief because I forgot mine and I'm thinking about it.
Okay, yeah. So the first one is a continuation of a series with Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor and his buddy Charlie Borman have done 3 motorcycle trips where they literally go around the world. So the first one was called Long Way Round, where they went from Scotland to New York, heading east. So they go through Russia and Kazakhstan and Mongolia, across the Bering Strait to Canada, through the United States, and to New York. It's a really awesome motorcycle trip, like 20-something thousand miles. They did it in just under 4 months, but it was incredible. The second one that they did was from the northernmost tip of Scotland down to the southernmost tip of Africa, and they call that one the Long Way Down. So the Long Way Round, the Long Way Down, and this third one is called the Long Way Up. Now, there's been like 12 years in between, or 13 years from when they filmed Long Way Down in 2007 to 2020 when they've released this one. Actually, I think it was 12 years because they did it in 2019. So anywho, so it's been 12 years, and now they're going from the southernmost tip of South America to Los Angeles because they've ridden through a lot of this other stuff. We're 4 episodes in. Episode 5, I think, drops on October the 2nd, and I'm so stoked. It's awesome. I have decided that I want a Rivia is the name of the car. So they are doing the entire trip on electric motorcycles and electric trucks. So the crew's driving electric trucks. The 2 guys are riding electric motorcycles. They are being followed by a diesel Mercedes Sprinter that's got some solar panels on it so that they can charge everything in case stuff runs out. But that's sort of their fail-safe that. And they've got a guy that's following them on a Harley Sportster that's a lot like mine. All American. So the 2 bikes are Harleys. The 2... Rivia trucks are American made, so it's really cool to watch them, and everything that they're on is prototypes. So
that does make it cooler,
right? So like the serial number 0000 whatever 1 and 2 are the 2 Rivia trucks, and the 2 Harleys, which are built on the Livewire platform and then modified to be multi-track or multi-terrain, are also 2 prototypes. So they are doing this on motorcycles and in vehicles that are not production, that no one has ever driven. They're totally prototype, and it's absolutely incredible. You got to check it out. It's on Apple Plus or Apple TV Plus.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can subscribe to it, I would recommend it, even if it's for a couple of months, just so you can watch this show. Completely and totally worth it. The second thing from here's some stuff that I like is I want to recommend another podcast. I know that we're only doing this about once a week, so you've got plenty of other time in your week unless you re-listen to us, because what we're cranking out, this content is so good, so award-winning, so groundbreaking, so stunning and brave. No, and it's called That Story Show. I don't know if you're familiar with this at all, but the premise is that everybody has like a story that they tell at parties. Everybody's got that story. And so the premise of this show...
That's a great premise.
Yeah, so the premise of the show is these guys get
because
on
there are
there.
insane stories that you hear that...
Right.
It's this one guy that I met a long time ago.
Exactly.
And so this is just a collection of those kinds of stories.
Right. So they tell that story for themselves or whatever those stories are for them. And then they also have their listeners email in and have, that story for them. And so, there's a lot
so it'd be like the Machine story, the Bert Kreischer.
Right, yeah.
This insane... And that,
but
that
every
was,
episode...
Right.
It's that, or my getting broken up with in Spain story,
mm-hmm.
which is a terrible story, but it's really funny. They have the guys tell a lot of different stories, but the one that stood out to me was called Pooh in the Hood.
Okay.
All right. And when you hear that title, what do you think?
You had to take a poop and you were in the hood?
Okay. So here's the synopsis of the story. Father and son on a camping trip, super cold, and they're in coveralls and all sorts of other stuff. And so in the coveralls, like you've got the whole thing is all one deal, right? Mm-hmm. So you zip, it's a jumper
mm-hmm.
With a hood on it. And so the kid had to go to the bathroom. And so he goes to the bathroom, he undoes the deal. He does all of this. He zips it up. And when he goes to flip the hood up, all of his bathroom that he just did in the...
Because he pulled his pants down and it was collected underneath
He
him.
thought he had everything clear.
No.
And he went in his hood. And then just, after he zipped everything up, he was like, oh, it felt weird. And then he flipped the hood up so that he could walk back. And it just all poured down his back and on top of his head. And then... there's the Pooh in the Hood story. So there's story after story where the guys tell stuff, and a lot of them are really funny. They did a crossover episode with Kyle Mann and Ethan Nicole, and that was my first exposure to him. And then I've listened to him a few times since then. They're absolutely hysterical, and 99% of the stuff they say is family friendly. And the reason that they reserve that 1% is because of the bathroom stories.
Mm-hmm.
Is that there are some like that one that do get a little bit like, okay, like mom probably won't want to listen to this. Yeah. But they try to stay away from the bathroom humor.
Funny.
Yeah, they try to stay away from a lot of the bathroom humor because
every part of a bathroom is funny.
Yeah, or as Chesterton said, it's odd. It's awkward.
Yeah.
So
it's a place that we all disappear to pretend that we're not doing anything in there.
Right.
That everybody has to do.
Yeah.
It's the most shameful act.
It's just insane. Yep.
So my thing that I like this week, I think I've got a couple. One is I rediscovered Kirby's Adventure.
On what system?
Well, it came out on NES in 1993, I believe.
Okay.
And now...
So like the original Kirby's Adventure. Then.
Yeah. My brother turned me on to this, that most Nintendo Switches, I think they may all have it. It's a free game that it's called, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a Nintendo collection of old games. There's Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3. There's the Yoshi, it was like a Tetris. I played that for a little bit too.
Okay.
And Kirby's Adventure, which was the first, I believe it was the first one that had Kirby. I loved it growing up. It was one of my favorite games on NES. There are some really cool levels in it. I'm going to sneeze. But anyways, I rediscovered that. Got to play it. I took a couple days off the end of last week and the beginning of this week, so Monday. And I just kind of took it easy, which I think I needed it. But that was one thing I did. Another thing that I discovered was Ted Lasso, which I don't think we've discussed other than I said you should watch it.
Right.
It also is on Apple TV Plus. It is fantastic. Jason Sudeikis as Ted Lasso, which, from what I understand, from talking to my Uncle Calvin, another Calvin reference.
Naturally.
It started out as...
Are you a Calvinist? Hey, that's what we should. We should make shirts that said "I'm a Calvinist," and it's just a silhouette of your uncle. I think that'd be great. All right, cool.
I'm in. That's a great idea.
Yeah, people will be like, "That's not Calvin." You're like, "Yes, it is."
So NBC acquired the streaming rights, or I can't think of the word again.
And we just got done talking to a guy who does all of this stuff.
I know, but they got the rights to show some of the British football games.
Okay.
And to advertise it here in America, they had Jason Sudeikis on. From what I understand, he kind of improv, or he created this character. I don't think it was from SNL. I think it was just something he made up. Ted Lasso.
Okay.
Where he's this American football guy from Kansas, corn-fed, and he ends up going over to England. There's a club that brings him over to coach, to be the manager.
Okay.
And as you can imagine, they don't take too kindly to
being told what to do
a Southern boy coming over. And he slowly ends up. It's got a ton of heart, very funny. It's Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
But we are. The end of season 1 hasn't come out yet, so it's still a new show, but awesome. I can't recommend Ted Lasso highly enough.
Yeah. All right, so I'll check that out. Ted Lasso, and then Kirby's Great Adventure.
Yeah, Kirby's Adventure.
Kirby's Adventure, not Great Adventure.
Yeah,
that was a Stephen Curtis Chapman song. You remember that?
Oh yeah,
with the horses.
This is a great adventure. I remember it.
Saddle up your horses.
Yep. There you go. Dude, Stephen Curtis Chapman, by the way, is awesome. I listened to some of his stuff not that long ago. I don't know,
it holds up
six
pretty
months
well.
ago or so.
Stephen Curtis Chapman was one of the few people within CCM, which for those of you who aren't familiar with church lingo, as we talk about that, it's contemporary Christian music that was actually just trying to create creative, good music.
Yeah, he's an artist.
Yeah, he wasn't using it as a money-making venture. It was, I want to do this and create good music.
He wasn't like, there's a good market in CCM, I'll go over there.
I think that the average person would be appalled at how many artists, in scare quotes, how many artists actually don't believe what they're saying or singing and are doing it completely to... not even to make ends meet, but they're manipulating an otherwise very sincere demographic because they know that they can make a buck off of them as soon as they call something Christian.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of, and this happened so much in the late 90s and early 2000s, is they repurposed love songs and sold them to worship companies, or rather worship companies bought love songs from songwriters.
And made it about God.
And since it was a worship group that was singing it, they were like, oh, that's a worship song. Nah, you look at the writing credits on that. That's a country love song, and that person is talking about like doing foul things to another human, and we're singing it as though it's to God. Yeah. And while a lot of well-intended people, did that, and I'm sure that they experienced wonderful worship and things through that. Like that's just one of the, as far as I'm concerned, that's a horrible black eye on an industry that we worked very hard to survive in for a long time.
It's very disingenuous.
Oh
too.
Man, Stephen Curtis Chapman, I don't think has ever been one of those people.
Yeah. Plus, he puts on an awesome show.
Yeah, and his music was cool.
I don't remember when it was. It was a long time ago, but I saw him play some local big church here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And it was a killer concert. He's awesome. His band was great.
And he's a phenomenal guitar player.
Yep, songwriter, guitar player.
Yeah, he's good.
Singer.
And boy, that poor guy's been through some tragic stuff.
I haven't really followed.
So, and I want to make sure that...
let's have him on.
That I am so down if we want to get Stephen Curtis Chapman on.
That would be...
But there was a really weird thing, and I'm pulling up the story right now to make sure that I can get it right. And so he's got his kids are in a band, which I think is really cool. But one of his children died. And so his daughter died a couple of years ago. And I want to make sure that I have this right. She was in the driveway, and her brother, who's a teenager, was backing up the SUV, and she was so small and had run across the driveway like right at the exact moment, and he ended up accidentally running her over and killing her.
That's why all moms are crazy.
Yeah,
because they hear this story, and then I'm like, "What are you talking about?" To my wife, I'm like, "He's fine."
Yeah,
I let my son hold on to the back of my tailgate this last week with a Razor scooter. I mean, I went like,
yeah. I know.
It was like impulse speed.
I say I know. I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told him ahead of time, it's like, we're going to go down like 3 houses, straight line. We're in a cul-de-sac, very little danger. Heather was...
She had it up to here.
She was having none of it.
Yeah.
It was like, no, he's going to die. I mean, she didn't say that.
Right.
But that's
the reaction.
That's the mom alarm that's going off in her head. It's because of all these real cases that dads go, it's fine.
There was a skateboard memorial, and so like all these skateboards in this elementary school that our house backed up to for years, because there was a kid that we went to, well, I guess I didn't go to high school with him. My 2 younger brothers went to high school with him, and he was being pulled around on a skateboard in a circle by his buddy in a pickup truck. And so they had tied a rope onto the trailer hitch, and he was just being pulled around in a circle.
Rope is a bad idea.
And, he fell off the skateboard and wasn't able to get out of the way of the circle, and they crushed him. And it took like 3 weeks before they were able to clean the spot where the kid passed away on. But there were, they just took it down, I think, this past year. But for a good 15 years, there's been a memorial where he passed away that was like skateboards from, I mean, we took one of ours over there and stuck it in there, even though we didn't know the kid very well. Just because it was awful. It rocked our little community. But yeah, so like stuff like that happens, and you hear these one-off stories, and then all of a sudden it's like everybody that did that, whatever. Meanwhile, we were jousting in parking lots, driving trucks in reverse, and we're here to
all
live
boys
a tale
do
about
it, and all moms don't want them to do it.
Right.
And the truth is that we shouldn't be doing that.
Probably not.
I mean, I had a friend who in high school I saw him do it.
Did we interview this friend recently?
15 times. No. But I saw him do it 15 times. That we'd be on the highway or driving, and all of a sudden he would just be gone. Like he would go out of the side window and he'd get on top of the car. And it was hilarious at the time.
Right.
But he also died in a car crash in real life.
Is this Corey?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Now, he didn't die doing that. But,
right. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt, if I remember correctly.
There's a reason. Yeah. There's a reason that that moms think that their babies are going to die. 'Cause there's a lot of them that do. And let's not do this dumb stuff. But going 3 houses at impulse speed in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
I did it as safely as I could.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
And now you and your son are both in trouble with mom, which is...
No, she knows.
Well, no. But I mean, that doesn't mean that you're not both in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're not hiding anything from her, but you're both in trouble.
Right.
Like, how could you let him do this? And meanwhile, she looks at Kale and is like, how could you allow him to do this? And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but there's something, I think, cool, and that I know people are going to hate that I'm saying this, that builds a relationship between a dad and his son where we're both in trouble with mom right now. Like there's something about that you're like, oh, yeah, well, we're both in trouble. Like, that's fine. Yeah, we can both be in trouble. That's
we'll be in trouble together.
Yeah, we're in trouble in solidarity.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. There was one thing that we both thought was pretty good this week that we haven't mentioned, and that is the Chef Eddie G. And I can't remember how do you say the last word.
Locavore.
Okay, Chef Eddie G.
It just means
Locavore.
you're a local diner. Like you eat things that are grown locally. It's a hot button. It's a hot button. It's locally grown, sustainably farmed.
All of that stuff.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So Chef Eddie G. Locavore is a show that's on Amazon Prime, and we got the opportunity to sit down with the executive producer of that. Yeah, Dr. London Williams.
Super cool guy.
Yeah, he was absolutely a phenomenal interview. And so if you are watching this, you're going to see a set change as we jump into our interview with London, as he talks to us about his transition from being a music producer to...
Yeah, he's got an awesome story, too.
Yeah, music producer, now producing film. He's got a PhD. He taught up in New York about management strategies, was a venue manager for the biggest venues in the world. And
I was surprised to hear about the Death Star.
Yeah, he helped do that. He used to manage all the concerts and everything that came to Wembley Stadium. I mean, the guy has been nothing but successful in anything he's touched has turned to gold. But it's come from
until he came on our show.
Yeah, until he came on our show. But it's from a lot of hard work. We get into to a lot of cool stuff. So here's our interview with Dr. London Williams. Hope you guys enjoy it. And as we have said multiple times before, part of the fun of our show is getting to interview people that we have no business talking to at all. And today is no exception, as we have executive producer extraordinaire Dr. London Williams. Yeah. So London has several different movies that he's done. The award-winning OutGrown, the Raw Black Funk. We've got what's the one with Natural Hair? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Natural Hair the movie.
Natural Hair the movie just celebrated over 2 million streaming, and the big one right now is Chef Eddie G.
Locavore. Yes.
Which I originally thought was Eddie G's last name.
I thought it was his name too.
Yeah, I was like, wow, so G's his middle initial. That's kind of cool. But no, Locavore's actually got a cool meaning. We'll get into that here in a little bit.
And he's a New York-based chef, right?
Yes, he is. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So is his food amazing?
His food is amazing. Yeah,
it looked good what he was making.
He always tells me that I'm based wherever my backpack is, that type of thing. But
awesome.
He's from New York originally.
Yeah, but Locavore is one who eats food.
It's a local.
Grown locally, whenever possible.
It's a great idea for a show too.
Yes.
Because I mean that's my favorite thing of traveling is eating the local food. Like
That's right.
I don't want to go to LA and go eat Olive Garden.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but that is you can find that Chef Eddie G. Locavore is streaming on Amazon Prime. You get 4 episodes out and some more coming.
Yes.
As you had some COVID delays, which I'm sure we'll get into that as well. But I want to start on a personal note, if I can. If we can just start the sappy music in the background, I want to start on a personal note. I just want to thank you for the last decade of friendship.
Oh, thanks,
man. London and Danley. I don't know how much of this that you've pieced together, but a lot of the national acts and the big acts that I got to work with and play with were because of London. A few episodes ago, we were talking about Hamilton and how cool it was that Hamilton was something.
Yeah, and you got all butthurt about it.
Yeah, I did. That's actually not what happened.
It's not.
But we were talking about how cool it was, like the reimagining of historical characters in a modern framework and seeing them recast. And one of the things I was talking about was being the white guy that was playing with R&B acts, and that I had to have some of my black friends that went to bat for me that said, no, not only can this kid do this, but he's actually pretty good at it. And London was the guy who got the final word on it, who listened to me play bass one day and was like, you know what? I think that'll do. And it felt like that moment from, you've seen the movie Babe, where the farmer's like, that'll do, pig, that'll do. That's what it felt like. I was like, I made it. I get it.
I know.
Yeah. No, it was it was awesome.
So this bass player with long blonde hair walks in.
Walks into a
He says,
rap
hold on,
studio.
I've got to get out Eleanor.
Yeah.
The name of my bass.
Yeah, pull out this
I'm sure
5-string sparkly bass.
I'm sure there's question marks everywhere.
We literally. So this was where was the studio? It was in Garland, right?
Yes. It was actually in Garland.
Yeah.
Or was they Grand Prairie? No, it was actually in Garland.
Yeah.
I had 3 or 4. So
Yeah. So that was in Garland. We came up. I rolled up to the studio 1 a.m, and there's a hardcore rap group that just got out, and they're looking at me like,
you're like,
what?
Hey guys.
Yeah. They had one of the guys asked me. He goes, Are you the right place? I was like, I think so. There's bars on the windows.
Yeah.
And I walk in and come around the corner. and got to do a little audition. And I did not look like I belonged there. I'm going to be honest. I was wearing a pair of 501 jeans that I had.
Boots?
Yeah, that somebody helped me get into. Some ostrich skin boots. I had on like a bunch of rings.
That was skinny jeans first came out, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And anyway, so I did the audition, and London was one of the first people who was like, "I'm willing to look past you and to see that you're actually talented and not just a knucklehead."
Yeah.
And that was a big part of my maturing into not just becoming a better artist, but just a person in general. Because I'd never really had. I've got some great people, but I've never had to have somebody, go to bat for me, and you did, and that's definitely changed the way that I've interacted with other people, realizing how important it is for people to have an advocate. So, as my buddy, man, thanks very much.
No, thank you,
I've
man.
appreciated it over the years.
Thank you for your friendship.
Yeah, no sweat.
yeah.
As I've been, what London really means is, hey, you know what? I will keep you around, you little mooch. So that's an awesome. So let's catch up. Let's talk about. So you've gone from music, which is where I met you, to now you were doing film
and television,
which is that seems like a crazy jump.
I would say it's not too much of a crazy jump because I feel like all entertainment is in the same vein because. When you're looking at a film, you listen to music behind the film, and believe it or not, music is really what pushes a lot of films to where they can be better films as well.
Yeah,
because there's some scenes wouldn't be a scene without that cue music, as you said, the sad music and stuff like that. Or music actually helps films move and vacillate to become a true story.
Yeah.
I remember watching, I don't remember what show it was, but it was a symphony of some kind.
Mr. Holland's Opus?
No, and they were playing the music for an episode of Tom and Jerry.
Okay. And
they dropped the music suddenly, and the show becomes, I don't know, almost unwatchable. Like
there you go.
Yeah.
It's just the cat and the mouse running around, but with the music, it adds all of these layers and these levels.
There you go.
Well, you did some stuff at Real Effects whenever you were there, where you took.
I played ping pong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, he took. We were watching something, and you were learning production at the time, and you took the footsteps out of a scene. And it messed with my brain so bad because you're watching it and something's supposed to be happening.
There you go.
And it's not. And I know that it's supposed to be happening and all these other sounds are happening, but it was I think it might have been an equilibrium, like Christian Bale's walking down a hallway with no footsteps.
I think about it all the time because
it just hurts.
Wow.
I'll hear movies and I'll go, that doesn't sound quite right. Like the post effects where they're adding, pan clanging together or whatever for a door slamming. I'm like, that wasn't the right sound.
How when people watch this or listen to it, that my voice sounds markedly different because we add some richness and stuff to it that they won't hear if they hear a Sunday morning sermon.
Yeah. Well, you're like, hey, y'all, we're going to praise the Lord.
You put a little bass in there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We modulate it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, I think the interesting, especially about talking about real effects, is funny because I've learned a lot about certain vegetables and fruits that make sounds of like the human body.
What?
They would use like cabbage for bones breaking or something like that. Different things like that, doing all the Foley and all that stuff like that. So it's funny to listen to hear you guys talk about that because when I'm looking at a movie or a television show, I'm listening for everything. And I'm like one of those very eyes wide open type of people.
Yeah.
So never watch a movie with me. I'll tell you that.
Because you want to know how it works.
I'm that guy that's talking. I'm like, that ain't right.
Yeah. I've got a friend who is he's a professional magician and he actually makes a lot of the illusions.
Okay.
His name's Anton James and he's I'm trying to think of the name of their site, The Magic Estate. And if we got together for something, I don't remember what it was, but we were watching an episode of, I think, America's Got Talent that was just on the television. And as we're watching, he's like, no, he's got a card behind his back. I'm like, you took all the magic out of this right now. And he's like, no, it's like, how do you know that? And he goes, that's my trick. They're using my thing. I know exactly how he's doing it. I wrote the instructions for him. That's so crazy.
Yeah, my son now can pick up because I've told him about it so many times that he can now pick up the Wilhelm scream. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know you're talking about. Yes,
we'll be watching a movie and it'll happen. He'll go, that's the scream. I'm like, good job.
Yeah, right.
He's 11 years old. He's got the ear too. He's got the musical ear.
That's terrifing. You might actually be raising a little.
He's got the ear.
Yeah, he's got the ear.
Yes.
All right, so it was a natural transition.
It was really a natural transition. Yes. Now I just kind of look at it as the total picture, the total package, as they say.
So, what made you want to? I don't want to say stop telling stories through music, because you continue to do that, like you said, with movies, because they make I'm going to use my vocabulary word I just learned. They help the movie vacillate.
Yeah.
So what made you want to transition then into telling stories through the medium of film and television?
I think the biggest thing is being able to tell a story visually. It's funny because I'm the type of person, I use all my senses. Right. So if I can see it, I think it tells a better story. When I was producing music and working with musicians across the board, that was one thing. But to be able to apply that music to the screen, to the big screen, I've always wanted to work in that field. So I said, okay, cool. Let me see if I can do it the right way. And when I got in there, that's one of my biggest things. I laugh about it because a lot of people that I work with, or filmmakers that I work with, they're wondering why I'm so big on sound. They didn't understand that I had a music background. So when they make a beautiful movie and the sound is crappy, I'm mad. I'm that's like the biggest thing to me. Is like, okay, first I'm asking, who's your sound guy? And the truth to be told, I've worked on some projects and the sound came out terrible. Because I didn't work on sound.
I actually was going to ask you that. Do you still work on, like, have you produced something that you also handle the sound for, or you just go, that's too much?
Just too much. There's too much to do, and you just have to trust the people that's working on sound that they're going to do the right thing. I would rather work with an engineer, somebody that's certified engineer, to where I know that their ears are going to pick up everything. And movie sound is totally different than music studio sound. That's going to be a totally different ball game. But at the same time, an engineer is going to know that with his ear that what it's supposed to sound like. You know what I mean? So you run into those issues all the time. Yep. Yeah,
we've noticed that with some of the engineers that we've worked with when we were recording music, is that the ear of an engineer is not exactly tuned the way that the ear of even a musician is. Because like when we're looking for the proper guitar tone or bass tone or whatever, and then they get it into the recording software, and they're like, no, this has too many hertz and this range or whatever. And you're like, no, what are you talking? Don't mess with my tone. It took me years to do this.
Don't touch it.
Yeah, they're like, no, it sounds great where it is, but it's not going to sound great over speakers. Well, it always sounds good over those speakers. I don't know what you're talking about. Because our egos, our feelings, and things get involved, but there's a specific type of training for each one of those. What would you call it? Each one of those disciplines.
Yes.
I'm trying to say
a whole bunch of good words.
We're at a table with a doctor.
No. It's not that.
Official.
Hey, I'm still learning words daily. When I first started studying, I was going to dictionary.com, and I got a word a day.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually request a word a day to be sent to you.
Really?
On dictionary.com.
So
that's how you get your vocabulary.
Yeah, that's how you learn vacillate.
Yeah.
I just like the way it sounds.
Yeah, I know, it sounds kind of great.
It sounds...
Yeah.
It sounds like something like
Vaseline.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Sounds very Vaseline.
Excuse me while I just vacillate through this crowd.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's the proper usage, but also where my wife would be like, hey, can we just stop using the word vacillate in public?
There you go.
Did you say vacillate
Let's
in front
add
of my
it
parents?
to the list of words that we don't say.
Okay, so you started, you went to film school.
Yes.
As an adult.
Yeah, as an adult.
We'll put it that way, right?
Yes.
So you were married, you had kids.
Yes.
You had a wonderful job. When I met you, you were doing some stuff over at a venue management company. We'll leave them nameless, but you were managing the biggest venues across the globe.
Yes.
And you actually helped with some of the stuff at the Death Star. So we'll just allow all of that to work in illusion, which, when I first met you, I was like, that's incredible. And you're like, yeah, this is not really what I want to do. Like, you had a great car. You had like all of the things that young Lucas was looking at. And I was like, no, this dude is super successful. And you're like, I'm not really interested in all this right now, man. I ain't trying to do any of this. I really want to do something that I'm passionate about. And I was like, well, I am passionate about driving your BMW. So how can we make that happen? So you've always been somebody that's been very inspired and very driven by their passions. And so what was going to film school in New York, leaving the family in Dallas, for how long was film school? How long were you there?
I was there about a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yeah. But I was there about 2 years, but the program I was in was about a year and a half. Yeah.
So how does that conversation go with Mrs. Dr.
How
Williams?
did that go?
That conversation is more like, honey, I want to change what I'm doing. I'm not happy.
Right.
I think I've hit as you hit your roadblock and you're like, man, I'm just to the point to where I just hit that mental roadblock on what I want to do. And I basically gave an example because when I was teaching that SMU, when I was teaching there,
Go Ponies.
Right. when I was teaching there, I actually looked out across the audience. I looked at the class, and everybody's heads was down in their phone.
Oh man!
And I was like, oh my God, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How did I get to a point to where I'm teaching a subject? At that point, I was teaching sports management, and I was also teaching event management. And I'm teaching a topic that I had so much passion and love about, to look out on this audience of all these people with heads down into their phone because social media just hit, Instagram, everything that just hit. So we had people head down. So now you're teaching to a heads down generation. And that was one of my deciding factors to say, hey, I'm going to do something I really, really love to do versus simply trying to teach these people with their heads down to where they're learning. Don't get me wrong, they're learning. But at the same time, I want to feel like I'm really contributing. And what I felt like my contribution was going to be to where I can create projects that I wanted to always create. So that was part of my plea when I said, hey,
I'm the thing that they're looking at when their head's down.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to influence them from the screen.
There you go. So that's part of my discussion with the missus. And when we had that discussion, I decided to leave, and I left, and I said I'll be back on the weekends. Man. But that was a lie. The weekends never really happened. I was like, okay, good. I came home the first couple of weekends,
right?
But then what happens in film school? You get pulled on the projects that only shoot on the weekends. Mm-hmm. So now you're like, okay, now I'm in school all week and I'm shooting on the weekends. So then you start looking at the missus like, man, I'm sorry I can't come home this weekend, but I'll see you next weekend.
Ooh.
Next weekend turned into like, I'll see you another weekend. But it was always those type of things to where you're coming home like 2 months later,
Yeah. Did she ever come visit you and get to experience New York?
No, she never wanted to come up there. She was done. She's not a New York person.
See, that's my wife too. Yeah. I've only been once. I was there for like a night, basically.
Yes.
But I spent the whole night exploring New York. My wife would have hated it.
Yeah. My wife, she hated it. She never really wanted to come up there. Because they heard all the bad things about New York. New York is a very cultural city, but it was a poet. I can't remember his name right now. He always said, "Go to New York, but don't stay too long. It'll make you hard."
Yeah,
So I learned that from that poet. Just don't stay too long, because as you go to different places, you realize that the places that you're at, people don't have the same values that you have, and you literally learn what it feels like to get stabbed in the front versus stabbed in the back. There was a whole saying about L.A. people stab you in the back, New York people stab you in the front. and you learn that real quick just by looking at somebody and you're doing a deal with them, and all of a sudden they change their mind in the middle of the deal, and you're like, you just lied. They don't know what a lie is. Hey, what's a lie?
No, I didn't lie. You're wrong.
You're right. You're like, huh?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a huge transition for a family.
Oh yeah.
And the good news is that it's worked out.
Yeah.
Right. So you've gotten to work on some films you were really passionate about, stuff that's won awards. And if you're not familiar with the way that a person's career runs, you might not know that the very first movie that London did is like one of the most raw films that I have ever seen in my life. I will tell you right now.
No.
Okay, it's awesome. I will say that it's an incredible movie that you should never watch with your children.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of movies in that category.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah, but I think like for instance, like with Tombstone, right? Tombstone's one of those movies that you want to watch with your kid one day. Black Funk is an incredible movie that I feel like was something that I needed to see, but it's one of those that I've got in the category of, okay, I've experienced that, and I felt this whole up and down of emotion and just craziness that was in that movie. But like the only thing I can liken it to is The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, was an incredible movie. But I was exhausted by the end of it. I don't know that I could I could take watching that again. And that's kind of where Black Funk took me, and then finding out that so much of it was a true story. And all that. So how do you get hooked up on that kind of movie to start your career, and then move to? Now I'm traveling with places with a chef eating great food that you can
not a bad gig.
Not at all. So talk to us about like how your career mapping's gone, how you kind of swung from point A to point B.
Well, I always tell people that sometimes you don't pick the movie picks you. It's a true story.
It's happened to me 100 times.
Yeah, you're like, hold on, how did I get this gig? You know,
I'm just
I know, right? So I'm like, how did I get this gig? Like that was the first feature film that I worked on. I worked on numerous short films. I worked on stuff with Facebook. I worked on stuff with other producers, but they were always short film projects, short narrative film projects. So this was the first feature film, so I was excited. But one thing I didn't know was the fact that this film was actually almost like a 50 Shades of Grey type of book before it became a film.
I did not know that either when I started this movie. I watched this movie because it was something that my good friend London had worked on, and I was like, I'm going to check this out. Yeah. And you had sent me a message to let me know what it was, and it was streaming, and then you sent me another one that I did not see that goes, hey, bro, be careful watching that movie.
Don't watch this with grandma.
Yeah.
But by the way, where could we find this now? It's on Amazon and...
Is that
it's still streaming on Amazon.
Cool.
Yeah. I've been on there like 3 years now.
Yeah. So you started off with that, and it was kind of the Black 50 Shades of Grey, but it was the guy's life story, and so you saw the script, and then you started reading the novels. So what's your mind doing when you start reading these novels?
Well, the thing is, I didn't really read the novels until we almost finished the script, until we almost finished shooting, because like at that point, once you were hired on the production, you don't have time to read. Right. You're like, I've read this script, now I'm outlining everything. I'm putting things into movie magic programs. I'm scheduling, and I'm working with the actors, putting out contracts. So you're literally going into event mode, right? To put everything together. And then you're like, okay, great. So as you get some downtime, you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to pick up one of these books. Me and the writer, we became friends, knowing his whole life story. He's actually from Grenada.
Okay.
So he's a citizen in the U.S., but just to know his story and everything that went on behind that was quite interesting. But then come to find out his books have sold millions of copies. That was like life-changing to me, because I'm like, man, how did he do this? And how did he turn these books? And now, see, I was a conduit to getting that book to film, to the silver screen. But like I said, any first project comes with your first problems, because I was learning. I was literally in the process of employing my business and event planning skills, but I was still learning as a filmmaker, because I didn't know all the terminology. I was like fresh out of film school.
Right.
They don't teach you everything in film school. They don't teach you really, really how to do it. And sometimes I always tell people that just because you go to a certain film school, you may have a teacher that worked on some projects from the 70s or 80s. Yeah. You know what I mean? They haven't worked on any projects in the 2000s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they haven't. Some that haven't worked with any digital format at all.
There you go. And so you have a lot of teachers that really don't want to work with digital format or ever do it, but they kind of teach you what they've went through in theory. But to actually work a project is a total different ballgame. I have respect for everybody that I work with on set, but I also learned, the tough part about it is rescheduling, firing people, hiring people, those type of things, to where you have to make those tough decisions. And I had to make a lot of tough decisions on that project. But that project, I truly believe, I'm glad I had those experiences, because I was able to cut my teeth on that project to not make the same mistakes. And some of the mistakes was pretty much some of the mistakes was stopping and starting. Sometimes when you got a project, especially a feature film, you got to shoot straight through. If you don't shoot straight through, you'll lose those crew to other people. Especially when you have good crew,
Really?
you can lose them to other productions because everybody's vying to hire those people at that time. And those people in New York, they're going to go to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You may offer them $1,500 a day. Somebody else is offering them $1,600 a day. That $100 can make a difference between food and the fridge.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how many with COVID have you guys lost a lot of crew because of that? Because a lot of the projects that you've been working on have been put on hold.
Yes.
But you said you've also been able to do some projects. So has there been like give and take? Are you losing more people, or are you able to help more people find opportunities to work?
Well, a little bit of both. When COVID hit, everybody, of course, was scared because we didn't know. Nobody knew what COVID really was. And then once, they start to realize, and once the CDC started offering these guidelines, as the film industry person, we were still waiting on the Producers Association, the PGA, to give us our guidelines, So once they gave us our guidelines, we were able to start moving forward and realize what we had to do is that we had to start scaling down. I was used to working on sets with 30 to 40 crew members, and sometimes even more than that, to work on a set with 15 crew members.
Wow.
But then you work on a set with 15 crew members, you're doubling your job. I was on sets where I was the line producer and the first AD, and that very rarely happens because you realize how much leeway you have to give to get stuff done.
Yeah.
I was just recently on a project in LA. I was the line producer, first AD, and the second AC, a second assistant camera. So you get to a point to where you're like, man, I'm stretched thin. So I think that's what's happening now with COVID, is a lot of people have to take on dual roles, and those dual roles are kind of stressing people out right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see an end to this where where the movie industry just goes back to traditional roles, or are we going to see it evolve? Where
I truly at this point, I think the movie industry is going to evolve. It's going to get to a point it's become the new norm until COVID is really put under control, or I hate to say this, our country truly locks down, and for that 2-3 week period to where they say it manifests or whatever. I truly think this is a new norm of just scaled down crews. And even actors, you have to be on sets. Then, their guidelines is that craft services is totally changed. You can't just feed people in a buffet line anymore.
Yeah.
You have to have to-go boxes prepped each individually. Everything is individually wrapped. It's a weird feeling to be on set like that. Yeah.
So
and how do you do seconds? You just go get another box?
You go get another box.
It depends. If your name is below the third page on the credits, you don't do seconds.
My box only had one sandwich in it.
Yeah, you'd be lucky to get a box.
Yeah. So speaking of that, there are some terms that I've seen in the credits of movies that I have no idea what they are, and I'm wondering if maybe you can help me with some of these terms. So what's a gaffer?
A gaffer is someone that works with light. They're basically the one that's shaping the light on set and basically getting your lighting right. So like I said, in the studio right here, we have lighting, right?
We do, yes. And our gaffer was terrible.
The gaffer actually did a pretty good job. I can kind of tell by the shadows, not any key lights coming up, but, the gaffer is the person that's kind of working with the lighting to make sure that the director of photography is happy, because the director of photography is going to give you a certain look on how that film is supposed to look, and the gaffer is usually the person that's going to deliver that look for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think gaffer also means father in
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. My old gaffer.
Gaffer.
This is different than Samwise Gamgee's.
When I think of gaffer, I think of gaff tape.
Gaff tape.
Yeah. And so I thought it was, for the longest time, and until just this moment, I thought it was the person that taped all the cords down.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so cool that they give this guy his own spot in the credits.
Yeah.
I was incredibly wrong.
The gaff taper.
Yeah. What's the best boy?
I was about to ask that.
Yeah,
too.
Because I think that's the one that in the credits, when I see that, I'm like, the best boy, and then there's there's several best boys.
I'm a great boy, but I'm not the best.
The best boy. It's funny that you say that, because like I said, I've worked on some big sets, and sometimes people take on multiple roles.
Right. So have you ever gotten to be the?
I've never gotten to be the best boy.
Yeah, I think that's a weird thing to say to somebody. Have you ever gotten to be the best boy?
Yeah.
It sounds like something you'd say to your dog, not something that you'd say, oh, who's the best boy?
Yeah, do you get a treat too?
So
they work in the G&E department. Most of them work in the G&E department, and
G&E is, for our listeners who don't know,
General Electric.
Yeah, we're speaking a lot of acronyms because we're.
I'm sorry.
No. It's not your fault. We also are industry people, like Dr. Williams, our guest. But
he does the same thing with church lingo.
I do.
He'd be like, "What?"
It's so bad. I speak, and this will probably get me canceled.
So what is an offering?
Yeah. What is it? What's a tithering? No, it's
tithing.
Yeah, you guys are horrible.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the person that handles with the general election stuff. So the best boy and the gaffer, I suspect, probably have to work.
They work
really
together.
Closely together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody, and it's funny. Everybody in this industry, they're interconnected departments. But
see, I think the gaffer and the best boy could be one and the same.
They can.
I think that's one that we can combine and move forward.
I think it depends on how big the set is.
Well, it also depends on how big those lights are.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm meddling. Look, he set it up perfectly that this show is us two talking to people we have no business talking to. I'm trying to solve the movie industry.
Y'all gonna have unions calling us. Don't try to mess with our jobs.
Don't worry, just give them my number.
Is gonna just give us a 1-star review.
They're gonna boycott right outside. You're trying to take our jobs.
That'd be great. We'd have to cross a picket line just to come into the studio.
Yeah.
What about?
I offer my services as best
What's
boy.
a grip?
Grip is they're in the G&E department as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody that I'm mentioning is just like
grip is pretty much.
People.
I don't think about it like this. A grip is a person that's constantly helping move equipment and stuff like that. Yeah.
Grip is a roadie.
We call it a one man.
Yeah. And then I think my last one is a Foley artist. Because I have no idea what a Foley is. When I think of Foley...
A Foley catheter?
Yeah.
No, that's not what I think of even. I think of Mick Foley. Right? My brain goes back to like junior high, to Mankind, to WWE. Yeah. It was Mankind and Cactus Jack and Mick Foley. And I'm like...
Mankind had some issues.
Yeah, so what is a Foley artist?
When you think about sound in pictures and stuff like that, that can be contributed to the Foley artist.
Okay.
So just, you have this situation right here, break my leg, stuff like that. There's so many different things you can do to like deliver that.
In Fight Club, when
I've
Brad
watched
Pitt.
Fight Club. That's
okay. In another movie where someone throws a punch, there's some guy in a studio banging two pieces of chicken thighs together.
There you go.
To get that slap.
Yeah. And the Foley artist like syncs that up?
Yeah, he would be able to answer this better. I just generally know.
Or does the Foley artist sync it up or create the sound?
They're creating the sound. They're basically recreating everyday sounds.
That's cool.
Like
it's awesome.
Fighting. It's an awesome job. It's funny. I first learned about that. It was a studio in Dallas called Gore Entertainment.
Yeah.
You remember those guys?
Yeah, they defunded a documentary that I was working on.
No, wow.
They put some money up for it, and so I went and did a trip. And then whenever I came back, they were like, "Yeah, we lost some money, so you're not allowed to do this anymore." And I was like, but I have receipts, and they were like, "Yeah." That's awesome. You just put those in your pocket and turn around and walk out. And I was like,
and then you can write it off at the end of the year.
Yeah, write it off at the end of the year. Hey, I took a trip to L.A. because I was supposed to get to do a thing, and they were like,
and it was a loss.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think their attorney passed away. That's what happened.
Yeah, and
he was like
collapsed.
It all fell apart.
But I do remember that.
But I learned about that by that company because when they first built over in Dallas, and I walked in there, they said, "This is our Foley studio," and I was like, "What?" It's just a room just like this.
Right.
They had
just one weird guy in there.
Yeah, he was in there, and he was sitting in the corner like this. I'm the Foley artist.
He has slinkies, and
then the director puts him back at his kennel, and the end of the day,
there you go.
Don't go in there.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, but that's what they had. They had a room with all type of soft. It was like soft stuff, hard stuff, and they can recreate noises. That was it.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I watched a Star Wars. That's probably the one that I think of the most as the Foley artist. I think there was even a documentary about.
There definitely was.
With all the springs that they used.
There was a Star Wars documentary that was on Foley art.
Yeah. But to make the laser sounds, like they invented a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were for some of the doors and stuff. They like took the top of the toilet thing and just like scraped it across
Sure,
that was how they did it, because the sound of the porcelain scraping, and then the laser sounds were like them banging on a guy wire for a telephone pole, stuff like that. So that's a Foley artist.
And T-Rex for Jurassic Park, they combined a lion and an elephant, and like there's like 3 or 4 animals that they created this.
They took a bunch of terrifying animals and made it one terrifying animal.
Terrifying. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah.
So is that in you? We were talking earlier. You said you were really digging the new Jurassic World animated series. Are they using that same sound?
Yes, they are.
That's awesome.
And it's funny because that new series, they're like exploring other dinosaurs that didn't exist.
Oh, really?
So they're like making up creatures. It's hilarious.
That's wild.
So I'm saying it'll be a good episode to watch, or a good series to watch.
Yeah. I think that would be something you and Kale might get into.
My son has already started watching it.
Yeah.
So you know? Oh, your son is watching it. So he's seen the actually dinosaur eat somebody. Then did you know that?
Probably. He is 11.
Awesome.
He is 11. And
Yeah.
I think it's animated.
It's animated, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, he's seen it, but he's seen the other Jurassic Park movies with me. So
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, well.
it's pretty mild comparatively. I'm assuming.
Compared,
I'm assuming
yeah.
they didn't go like hardcore
No,
with
they
the
didn't.
animation
They
on
did.
Netflix.
I mean, they might.
But it was on Netflix Kids. It was because he's got his own little subsection.
He does at my house too, which I just found out. I got logged out of Netflix for some reason and logged back in,
like,
and it's like, do you
want
to be Kale the Bomb? I was like, honey, and she goes, oh, I let him make his own Netflix thing. And it was over the other night. I was like, unbelievable.
That's cool.
He gets that poor kid gets nothing. Every place he goes, everybody's like so
fine.
excited that he exists.
Got it.
Okay, I want to talk to you about so many things, but so OutGrown. So we talked about Black Funk, which was this raw movie. You had Natural Hair, which we talked about, or Natural Hair the movie.
We didn't talk about it.
We mentioned it. We mentioned it. OutGrown is this movie that's about kids. Can you give it, like, what's the quick synopsis for OutGrown?
The quick synopsis
versus me reading it offline.
No.
Yeah, I can go to IMDb and just tell you.
Yeah. Let's hear about it from the creator.
Yes.
Good idea.
Yeah.
OutGrown is basically about 2 kids. They were actually trying to sneak into a concert, so they was doing it by any means necessary. I always tell people it's kind of like a planes, trains, and automobiles for kids, you know.
It's awesome.
They took a helicopter, a limo ride, always to sneak it on a city bus to try to get to this concert. All to get, and I'm going to hold that so people can go watch it.
Yeah, go check it out.
At the end, go check it out. Yeah. It's on right now, it's streaming on Up Faith and Family Television. So we signed a deal with them. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, so you won some awards with this movie, and did you go to film festivals for this?
Yes, we put this one in a lot of film festivals, and that's actually how we got our film deal.
Okay.
Because it was in a lot of film festivals, and Sam, the director of photography and one of the producers, he actually met someone from Up Faith and Family at one of the festivals, and she was like, hey, give me a call, that type of thing happened. And it was kind of like a referral through a friend, and we sent it to them, and they loved it.
How does the film festival circuit work? Because I'm completely fascinated by this, because we've been to plenty of music festivals and played in music festivals, and they are you have a traveling act, and everybody hops in their buses, and you go to the next city, and that's how a music festival works. Film festivals seem like they're completely different.
Nah, it's totally different. Film festivals, you submit your film online, and if they like it, if they screen it, they send it online through screeners, and they screen it. If they like your film, they would actually invite you to come, and then you don't know if you're going to win an award or not, but you are actually invited to come to the festival. They give you credentials and stuff.
That's
you basically
awesome.
just sit in the audience with everybody else and watch your film. So we watch your film thousands of times,
Right.
And at that point, you announce at the end whether or not you won. You're in different categories and stuff like that. And you may or may not win. And then sometimes you get beat out by films and you be like, man, we should have won. and I laugh about it because I'm like, I now know what like artists feel like at the Grammys. When we should have won.
Yeah, when Kanye got up and stopped the show.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the OutGrown was the best video.
I'm going to let you finish.
Yeah. So it was several times we wanted to do that.
Did you have people that you were like trading back and forth with? Were you like you won at one festival and then they won at the next one in similar categories, or?
No, it wasn't like that. It was more like you kind of respect the films that won, because some of the films that won the categories, I'm sitting back, oh man, we should have did that.
Right.
You're thinking about different things, and you know why they won, because And some things, I hate to say this, some things are politically motivated at the time. Yeah. I know one film had won, it was during the time when they were like, well, it's kind of still going on, about deporting people, you know. So it was a film about deportations and how the families that got deported were feeling when they had to go back to countries that they were never raised in.
Right.
So that film won. You know, we was like, I understand, it was political, you know. But I was bad, but I was like, it's a good movie. But, but I was like, that was political.
Yeah.
You know,
so that's tough. Subjectivity plays a huge role in anything.
So you mentioned that there at the film festivals there are different platforms. What was the one you mentioned that it was the Family Faith?
Up TV.
Up TV.
Yes.
So at these film festivals, you're also hoping to get
distribution. Yes.
Okay. Because you already have funding through whatever channel.
Yes.
But you still need to put it out there somehow.
There you go. You have to put it out there. So there's so many different ways you can do get distribution now. You can get distribution through network television. They will usually approach you if they see the film or if somebody submitted it. They usually want to do a licensing deal with you, or they'll buy it outright. If they feel like it's something that they can take and make a series out of, they will actually buy it outright from you. They don't want to deal with you again,
right?
Because they have their own writing team. At that point, you just basically took a little small check and let them.
It's like the FBI coming in town and taking the case away from
there you go.
Yeah, from the local
Thanks,
cops.
We got it.
That's exactly how
Good
it is. So yeah, it's a similar situation, you know. So that could definitely happen. But you can also self-distribute as well. So there's so many different ways you can self-distribute. I'll tell everybody else, YouTube is there. So a lot of films like Issa Rae, you know, she started as a awkward black girl, or the misadventures of an awkward black girl, something like that. And now she has her own TV show, you know, on the network, on the HBO, whatever network is on now. So that can happen as well. You can start on YouTube and get enough viewers and likes, and you can monetize YouTube as well. So if you can monetize it and get as many views and some major distribution companies or television networks, they'll come and try to buy that from you as well.
That's
or at least
crazy.
partner with you, you know.
So you've mentioned before that you are a big advocate of independent distribution and licensing.
Yes.
Why would you go those routes versus, you know, just the buying outright? Because that it's difficult as an artist who's struggling to not look at that big paycheck and say, you know what, they're offering me more money than I have seen ever
in life.
Yeah. Why would I say, you know what? No, I'm going to take less money for this.
There you go. It really depends on where you're at financially.
Yeah.
You know, I would say sometimes I'm in a good situation to where I didn't have to sell out. You know.
Right.
Like I said, I started in the industry older, more mature, so I had money saved up, so I didn't have to take those bomb deals. And, you know, similar to the music industry, a lot of musicians, they take these bad deals because they're young kids that needed that check. You know, they got that $1 million check,
right?
But realistically, they only got $650,000 because 300-some thousand of went to taxes. You know,
oh yeah.
So you got to think about it like that as well. I'm just in a fortunate position to where I don't have to take those buyout checks. And I always think about, when I'm doing productions, I think of building catalog.
Okay.
So when you have a catalog, you got to think about, as a publishing company, if you have a catalog of films, 10 to 20 films, you can always leverage those later in the future, because everybody wants content. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about content.
Yeah.
What can we do with the content? So once you finish on one platform, you can repackage it and put it on another platform. Now you have Quibi, you have these 10-minute movies.
Oh yeah, so Quibi's killing it too. They're bringing back all of my favorite shows. Like
think about
Reno 911, I think, is one.
Exactly.
Right.
So you think about it, you have an hour-long show, and Quibi only does like these 10-minute shows. You have like 10 episodes out of it, you know, or you have like 6 episodes out of that hour, you know, so you can cut it up in 10 minutes. So you got 6 episodes right there.
That's wild.
So many different ways you can do it now. So
yeah, I think a lot whenever you look, especially like at the licensing stuff or whatever, like Seinfeld. Seinfeld held out for so long before they signed with anybody for their licensing for it, and then they got a huge check from Hulu. And then like a year later, they were like, oh yeah, also so Hulu got their year exclusive. Now you can also get us on Amazon Prime because Amazon Prime paid us a lot of money to do that.
There you go.
That's the same thing with AC/DC. Mm-hmm. AC/DC was famous for being the only giant band that was not on iTunes.
Yes.
And whenever they got onto iTunes, which would have been probably like around 2010, 2011,
yes,
iTunes was forced to buy the licenses for their entire catalog because so many people wanted it, that those guys made a huge payday, enough to where the drummer decided to hire a hitman to kill his wife and then ended up Did you not hear about that? Oh man, that's one of the crazy. Oh yeah. So Malcolm Young,
the famous drummer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Malcolm Young, the brother of Angus, ends up he's having some memory issues and ends up having a stroke. And during this, the drummer and his wife are having some problems, and so I guess he just looked too hard at their song lyrics and decided to get a dirty deed done dirt cheap and then hire somebody to kill his wife. And the Australian government was like, you actually hired an undercover agent to kill your wife.
Wow.
And now we have to arrest and imprison a national treasure.
Tiger King style.
Yeah, no joke, right? So that's totally crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got these cool films. You've got a couple of shorts that you've done that we're assuming, and I know there's some of the stuff you can't talk about, that we're assuming are going to get picked up and turned into some series because they've got some really dynamic characters in them. I think of the ones that I've watched, I love Varnell, and I'll mention that one because it's the one that's easiest for our listeners, our viewers to access because it's on YouTube.
Yes.
So you just spell it Varnel, and it's about 15 minutes long.
Yes.
But it's a story about a guy and his friends. And the dialogue is great, the acting is phenomenal, but it sucks you in because it feels so authentic.
Yeah, it's very authentic. So Varnell, the best way to get it is go to YouTube, but Varnell corporate America is a joke.
Yeah.
You'll be able to find it quicker. Yes, it's a very authentic film because it's based on a true story, events that are actually happening and events that has happened. A lot of those actors in it actually took that leap of faith and quit their jobs and now acting full time, as you can see. And he's a great actor, by the way. And then one of the guys in it, he's a real sports agent. So the whole story is kind of true to script. Just having fun with it or whatever.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And it's been one that I've watched with a few people now,
yes,
and they all really dig it because the conversations that the guys have in that short are the same ones that we have with our buddies.
Yes.
That's like, oh, no, I did this. And you're like, well, that's dumb. And then the next guy's coming in and is like, no, you got to chase your dream. And he's like, I just told him it was dumb. Why are you encouraging him to be dumb? Yeah. So that it just just felt like you were getting to watch other people hang out, which.
That's right.
Yeah. Which was really cool. But before we let you go, I really want to get into the stuff with Chef Eddie G.
Me too.
So how did you and Eddie G get together? How did you guys come up with this bizarre idea? Because if you haven't seen the show, it's on Amazon Prime. You can stream it there. I'd encourage you. It's a fun show to watch with your family, and it's sort of and I don't want to pigeonhole it, but it fits into this weird void that was sort of left by Anthony Bourdain, who did this magnificent thing. But towards the end of his show, it was really about all the places that he went to go visit. Whereas Chef Eddie, I feel like, takes the travel aspect of it, and then he adds this sort of bizarre element of personal challenge where he's going to go to, like when he goes to Guadalajara. You guys go to Guadalajara, Mexico, which I'm totally fascinated that was the place that you guys picked to go for a number of reasons, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Narcos.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think of. Is I'm like, okay, that's great. So I see that you guys are in Guadalajara on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm like,
out in the opiate
fields.
And
I immediately put down my phone. I'm like, dear Jesus in heaven, be with London and whoever this Chef Eddie G is, who's obviously a bad influence on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. But he goes to these places, they highlight the culture, they highlight the local markets, and then he takes on this weird personal challenge of, I am going to take all of your ingredients and cook for you an authentic meal in my style and then give it to the locals to see whether or not they're like, no, this is terrible, or whether they like it, which seems like a really unnecessary way to put yourself out there.
Yeah,
that's like a vulnerability that I don't need in my life.
I know.
So like whenever I, hey, French people, I'm going to improve upon your words here real quickly. Yeah. So that just seems like a complete, just bizarre concept, but it's really cool. So how did you guys come up with it? How did you guys get together?
Yeah, we actually, he's probably one of my second projects out of film school.
Okay, yeah.
Actually,
so you just had success right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
What a jerk.
I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Do you want to executive produce our show?
Yes, I got you covered. We're on a roll. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Actually, I met him through a mutual friend. A mutual friend told me, hey, you need to check out Chef Eddie G's kitchen. He's a chef. This is stuff with the Food Network. You really need to take a look at what he's doing. I was like, okay, cool. So I went to the kitchen, went to his restaurant, ate the food. The food was amazing. And I was like, man, this is a pretty cool guy. And I walked in. The place was like built to film in. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind me filming something here? He was like, what do you want to do? I actually filmed the scene of Black Funk at Chef Eddie G's kitchen.
Shut up. That's awesome.
And it was funny. He said, yeah, you can film in my kitchen, but if you want to feed them today, you got to buy my food here.
There you go.
It was a win-win for both of us. So we filmed that scene. He actually made a cameo appearance in Black Funk that he said his mother would probably never be to see.
You can show her the clip. Yeah, I was in a movie.
I can show her the clip, you know. So at that point, he was telling me about some other stuff. We started spitballing ideas, and I noticed that he was like working on this thing. It was called 21st Century Locavore or something like that.
Okay.
And I told him, we kept going back and forth, and I was like, you know what? Why don't you just call it Chef Eddie G Locavore?
Yeah, there you go.
We just went back and forth with it. It's who you are,
Yeah.
Cooking, and we just kind of hit it from there and started with just me, him, and a camera. Traveling the world,
which is awesome.
And as you can see, the episodes will get better because the crew got bigger.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit beforehand. Is that it was a new experience for everybody?
Oh, yeah.
You had come from heavily scripted and feature film, short television background to now a more freeform like documentary style.
Yes.
Like if something happens, you keep the camera rolling and roll with it instead of you don't stop.
It's so funny that you say that because there's a lot of stuff that hits the editing floor that I wish would show.
Yeah.
Stuff that you never even think about, things that happen in the background, those type of things. And when you're making those decisions to edit it, and it's really all about whether or not you're trying to fit within this 28 minute blocks or 58-minute block of a time. You got to leave a lot of stuff out, but I always told him, I said, if we do it again, I want to be able to leave some outtakes, do like a whole episode on the outtakes.
Yeah, like at the end, like here's the stuff that you missed
from
that
what really
season.
happened.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, like when people, it was one episode we filmed in Sacramento, and we was filming an episode on them harvesting marijuana.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
So we got there, and then Chef was like,
Martha Stewart would love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we got to, and this is in Sacramento, California. So we was driving up to this ranch to film this whole scene, and the guy was like, "Oh, y'all can see this marijuana field," and we was like, "Okay, great." So when we get there, these guys come out of the hills on 4x4s, and I was like, "Oh my God, we about to get killed!" they had on these masks before COVID was cool.
Oh dang!
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's an episode that probably will never air. You know, but there's certain things that we just won't do as well. But sometimes with filming, we get invited to do stuff, and we're like, "Okay, what is that? Well, that'd be cool to film." But at the same time, some stuff is only made for Vice and not the cooking channel,
I was going to say that. How do you incorporate all right, so I took this ingredient and it's marijuana, and I'm going to make this huge spread with it.
Well, you got cooking with cannabis, you got stuff like that.
You can.
Right.
Yeah, you got stuff like that you can do. But that really wasn't really a part of our show format, but we was just kind of doing it.
That's kind of what I was getting at. It's like, this isn't exactly...
Yeah, it don't really fit what we're doing, but I'm going to film it. I'm going to produce it. I'm going to film anything.
Right. Like
that would make a fascinating bonus episode.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put it in the can, but at the same time.
Sell it with the DVD set.
There you go. There you go. There you go. So certain things that we just don't feel like it's part of our repertoire to do. But, that was one episode that the guy told us, he said, hey, y'all want to go film my cannabis farm? I was like, oh, really?
It's incredible how, like, we've experienced this on the podcast, is that when we say that we have a podcast, or you walk around someplace with a camera and you look like you're official with a film crew.
There you go.
People will agree to stuff or ask you to come do things that you really have no business or responsibility to.
There you go. There you go.
Like, do you want to come see my weed farm? You're like, we can't use this, but
yes, I want to see it. I've never been to one, but I'm going to come see it.
Yeah, I want to look at your hydroponic operation.
Man, it was like when we came out there, the field, it was literally probably about, I would say it had to be about 30, 40 acres of marijuana plants.
Oh my god!
And I was like, I've never seen it. I was like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it was funny to film it. You would think that would be in the Mexico episode,
right?
But it wasn't. Yeah. It was right in California.
It was a California episode.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
We run into stuff like that to where some things that will probably never be shown because that's not what we do.
Right.
But we do. Sometimes we're filming and then we run across things. One thing that's never happened to me, but it's happened to some of my colleagues that's traveled the world, to where they've witnessed true crime.
Oh, dang.
Yes, in the middle of them filming, and then the police or the local authorities were like, hey, we need your footage. That's never happened to me yet.
Got to copy it real quick?
No, sometimes they take your footage. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then you be like, okay, that's my whole show. But
dang.
Yeah, if something happens on tape, so you got to be prepared for that. So it's different things that I learned, especially traveling to different countries, to where you got to be ready to have a backup of a backup at all times.
Yeah, you're like rolling with the 2 SD cards, filming the same thing.
And when they want it, you say, here, you give them one card.
You give them slot B, and you're like, slot B doesn't always work, but I'm not losing this show.
There you go. So you got to be ready for things like that.
That's
so
wild.
You've got 4 episodes out. Mm-hmm. What was the most fun location to shoot at that you went to?
Man, they're all equally fun because it's based on the locals, the people. And it seems like all the people that we meet are just like very authentic people. We call them salt of the earth people. Mm-hmm. So we film a lot of farms. And
I call them salties.
Yeah, salties. So we film a lot of farms. And one thing I noticed about filming out of farmers is that these are people that just want to make sure that we have food and rations, and when they're going through a hard time, we all feel it. We don't realize to why food prices are going up because something may have happened. Like even in Cedar Rapids, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, they had something called a derecho, which is, I guess, something meaning straight. It was like a straight wind went through.
Oh yeah, this was the crazy windstorm. Yeah, they like destroyed the city. With, not like a tornado or a hurricane, like the world's biggest, longest, strongest gust of wind.
Yeah, it was 150 miles per hour.
Good grief. Yeah, and it like leveled the city.
So we filmed after the derecho. So when we was going through the community, you see the community. It was like a lot of. It was like in some neighborhoods, trees, big like 100-year-old trees just laying flat. Roofs and barns just tore up. And we decided to, because we kept putting off the filming of that episode, but we decided to go ahead and do it. But what we're going to do is that we want to showcase the place as with other footage that shows how beautiful the place can be. But we do want to highlight some of the stuff that happened with the storm, too.
Yeah, and there was almost no coverage of that.
There you go.
And then
I remember it was just a blip.
Yeah, and then
I don't even remember what crop it was, but they took a big hit on something.
Yeah, corn.
Yeah. I mean, Iowa.
And you think about what happens, like when some of those cornfields get hit. You got foods, and then you also got gasoline because they use a lot of ethanol.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then on top of that, you've got a lot of alcohol manufacturers.
There you go.
That lose all of that, and then what I'm learning more and more is the stuff that it does for animal husbandry.
There you go.
So you lose corn, so you lose it off the shelf. You lose it for whiskey and alcohol. You lose it for gasoline, and then you lose it for
the corn-fed beef.
Yeah, for the corn-fed beef,
manufacturing
and all that. Yeah,
mass producing.
Right, which is just it's crazy.
I prefer
how
grass-fed personally.
Yeah. Well done, you.
Yeah.
I just give it to the chickens.
Yeah.
Flipping chickens. We got rid of some of those. We'll have to talk about it later.
Flipping chickens.
Yeah, dude, we've raised almost 150 chickens this year to send out to my brother's farm. It is crazy, and it is one of the most bizarre endeavors that I've ever gone to, and now we're finally to manage a full number.
Cool.
So So if you guys want to do a Chef Eddie G episode on the different kinds of chickens that we have in the backyard, and talk to a couple of the locals, my wife would love it.
We can do that.
Yeah, if you brought a camera over, I would certainly let you into the backyard
cool.
to check them out. Oh, it's been terrible.
And
like we'll conversation for another time with you certainly. So you've got to go to all these cool locations. You've got to try all of this amazing food.
Yeah, that's like half of it, right? You get to travel and you get to eat.
Traveling and eating, that's just half of it.
What's the best non-Eddie G meal that you've had?
I would say the truffle pasta. I ate some truffle pasta in Tuscany, Italy. It was amazing. And I really didn't, the smell of the truffles, I didn't really like until I tasted it. It was good. It was real good. That was probably one of the best pasta dishes I've had.
So do you eat mushrooms like normally, or do you kind of stay away from them?
I kind of, I eat mushrooms with my steak, just regular, portobellos or stuff like that, or, stuff like that.
Yeah, because my wife is anti-mushroom, but I'm thinking that the truffle might be a great introduction.
There you go.
Because it's so delicious.
Can you imagine eating a truffled mushroom steak at Del Frisco's? That'd probably be $200, right?
That's $200.
It'll take that steak. It'll take that steak from $100 to $200.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to think if I've ever had truffle. I don't know that I've ever had, because they make all kinds of truffle butter and truffle, all kinds of.
You would not be able to kiss anybody after that, but you would definitely know if you had it. Yes, it's a pungent kind of taste, but it's very rich and very good once you taste it. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the next episode? Where's it taking us?
The next episode is going to take you to Altoona, Pennsylvania. It's right outside of Pittsburgh. So it's a very very Amish community. You're going to really love it. So
cool.
The music is pushing that whole episode. You're going to love that episode.
Was Altoona, is that and you can totally correct.
It's like a railroad. The whole city was kind of built around a railroad community. Okay. It was right outside of Pittsburgh. And the people that we filmed, Richard Fior and Helen Hoy. So that was a great episode to film those two. We filmed them at their family farm, and then we, went around to the locals, and the locals that we got most of the food from was from an Amish farm, to where they all the food was just organic and fresh, of course.
Really?
Man, some of the best food ever. And that episode is kind of like a carnivore's feast. So we ate a lot of
that sounds so good.
It really does sound amazing.
We ate a lot of.
We're both dieting. This is
This is torture.
So we ate a lot of elk, stuff like that.
Oh, we can have elk.
Oh yeah,
because that's a lean. That's a lean.
It was very
meat.
very lean. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing keto, so I'm gonna have to add some butter on top of it.
Yeah.
Add some truffle butter on top of your elk.
There you go.
Yeah. Man, that's wild. So you've how many more episodes do you have in the first season of this?
We have about 6 more episodes.
Okay, so we've got
each season
is
going to be
10.
Yeah.
10.
And then one for the bonus.
There you go.
Outtake.
Yeah, if we can convince we will write letters to Amazon.
Okay,
I will pen an email to Jeff Bezos.
Gotcha. Yeah.
To see if we could get that to happen. Okay, so the first episode was in Guadalajara, which you said you filmed you were the only camera person.
Only camera person,
and you were just using a regular microphone.
Which
is just crazy to think that now it's turned into.
Like what kind of microphone?
This.
Just the stock one on the phone?
It was on top of the camera. I shoot with a Canon C200. Okay. It's a cinema camera, but at that point, the only microphone that I had at that time was like a Shure mic that went on the top of the camera. It was like saying it works good up close.
Yeah, it would work great in a room.
But once they start stepping away, I'm like, okay, this looks good, but maybe I should put, you hear wind noise.
Right.
But my thing is this, I always tell people, like, start where you at. Whatever you have, just do it. Because at the end of the day, you have certain people that are going to like your programming, certain people are going to keep tuning in because they want to see what the next episode is going to be.
I'd never seen I'd seen the agave farms and stuff, right? And you see the agave plant. You guys like start hacking at one of them
Yes.
and go through the whole process. I'm like, that's,
yes, man, it's crazy.
yeah, I don't care about the wind noise. This looks awesome.
Now you understand why that stuff is so expensive, because these people are doing this stuff by hand. They're hand
and they have
crafted.
to age. I don't remember. The farmer had said that
like
if it gets
years.
too much rain and then too little, that it doesn't mature in time.
It ruins.
I get it.
Yeah, it ruins.
And then it's related to the pineapple.
Yeah.
I get so much useless information.
And there's different kinds. The green agave they made into that drink.
Mezcal, I think something like that.
Yeah, something like
maybe
that.
Maybe it's the blue one.
The blue
one he extracted and they had a drink. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a white looking drink.
Pulque.
There you go.
Oh my God, that was nice.
So I've never liked like horchata or I haven't tried pulque, but I've never liked any of those drinks. My friends keep trying to get me to try it. But
now horchata is a sweet. Like a sweet, milky type of
sweet,
drink.
Gross.
Yeah.
Yes. But that pulque, oh my God, I drank that. It was like
real thick.
It was a very thick, bitter beer taste. It was, oh my God, I don't know how I chugged that down.
Well, you're giving it such a flattering description right now.
But you should try it.
Yeah, I think not after this.
No.
Yeah, I'm down to try a lot of stuff, but you talked me out of that one.
But when you see them how they make it, you be like, I can't believe people drink this. You know. But it's funny because different cultures do things different.
Yeah,
you know?
that's absolutely
just like us slaughtering a pig. You know,
that's true. Yep.
I got a picture of it.
So we did get a sneak preview at some of the stuff that's happening in some upcoming episodes, which looks absolutely incredible. And you guys you're on, because of COVID, you guys are on a weird release schedule. So it was going to be once a week, and then it was like once every 2 weeks.
Now it's almost once a month. So we do have something coming out probably in the next. I would say probably in the next 3 weeks.
Okay,
we will have something coming out because we have to get some stuff re-edited. So working on that.
Yeah, well that'll be awesome. I am really looking forward to it, man. I can't thank you enough for devoting time to this whole program, and thank you for lending legitimacy to what we're doing here for a few minutes.
Pays the bills.
Yeah, it was a blast. So remember, Up Faith and Family Television is where OutGrown is, and then Amazon Prime for Chef
Eddie G. Local 4.
Yeah. And then, is there a place where we can watch Natural Hair the movie?
Amazon Prime.
Okay, that's on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So check that out because it's continuing to build up on the stream, and there's some cool stuff going on there. And finally, so what's next? What's next for Dr. London Williams,
back to
executive
music
producer?
I know, right? No, actually, what's next is that we're continuing the Chef Eddie G Local 4 brand.
Okay.
We're continuing that. Eventually,
you guys have some products coming out for that,
yeah,
right?
we have products. We have our own coffee coming out.
Oh.
Yeah. We named it Chef Eddie G's Kitchen. So
nice.
The Chef Eddie G's Kitchen is going to be most of the products that come out of that. So we have our own coffee. It's getting ready to go online pretty soon. It's going to be on Amazon as well.
Nice.
We're going to be selling our own knives, cutting boards, stuff like that.
We need to get you in touch with one of the knife makers that we're about to interview, who's like a world-renowned.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they could make our
historic weapons recreation specialist.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the dude's bad to the bone.
Now, where did y'all meet him at?
He's on the History Channel.
Okay.
Yeah, his name is David Baker, and he's from Forged in Fire. Yeah, he's got just the world's most magnificent mustache.
But you know what? I don't know if this is the same person, but I think I know what you're talking about because I've seen this one episode. It's called Southern Survival.
I know what you're talking about.
And these guys make knives on there.
Awesome.
Yeah. They make knives on there. Or one guy did. David Baker. I'm gonna pull him up.
Yeah, and they've got that one guy that he found him on Craigslist, and he's the coolest guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Battle Box. Is that what it's called?
Battle Box.
Yeah, that's the product line that they have. Where each episode they essentially they want the best thing at breaking a window.
There you go.
There you go. If you're in need of breaking a window, you can get this product, and they test them all, and it's pretty cool.
I can't wait to see that.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to. Whenever I got to shoot him another email this week. Whenever I shoot him an email, be like, oh, also, if you come on our show, we might hook you up with a chef that wants you to make some awesome knives.
If he can make some great,
his stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sweet. Well, I think we just solved the world's problems.
knives.
Yeah. I alone solved the coronavirus production film industry issues. It's done.
That's right.
We got that.
Good.
And you got some new knives coming your way.
Well, is there a place where our listeners can go and check your stuff out other than the streaming services? Because I know you have a production company where we can keep up with what you're doing. Or if we have some people that are looking to get into production or that need somebody to help them produce, we know that you've offered those services, that you're an educator and a mentor as well, and do some life coaching. So how can we get in touch with you? Where do we go for that?
Well, I would say 3 ways. Instagram is always a great place to get me. I'm public on Instagram, so it's Dr. Williams ABE. So you can find me at Dr. Williams ABE on Instagram, and also LondonWilliams.com. And then for the TV shows, ChefEddieG.tv, and then NaturalHairTheMovie.com. Just everything pretty much what the title is, you can find it on there.
All right, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Well, beautiful.
Well, yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me.
It was great meeting you.
Same here.
Yeah. I hope to have a friendship with you that rivals Lucas's one day.
It will.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Right?
Well, all right, guys.
I don't play bass like he does.
No, you're a guitarist. Which is they're totally different.
Maybe we should start a group.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I got some ideas. Let's talk.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that off air. All right. Man, it was awesome to get to have London on. Really appreciate it. Thanks again, Dr. Williams, for coming on. And as future projects are coming out, we are going to hope to get to keep up with his career and some of the stuff that's happening.
I want the exclusive.
And there's a potential interview for us and the good chef, which I think would be really cool, as well as to get to talk to some of the other people that are in the development process and some of the stuff that London's doing. I think would be neat for us to get to do in the future. And the guy, he was fun to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I had met him before.
Right.
So I came in, having done a little bit of research and watched some of his show. And,
right.
And I was ready to talk to him, but I didn't really talk to him a whole lot about his show. I mean, I guess I did, but yeah, he's just one of those guys that you just... I recognized him pretty quick. I was like, we can have a conversation. Like we can.
Yeah, and I feel like we really
we can hang out.
Scratch the surface.
Let's drop Lucas. Just you and me go hang out.
He'd probably be fine with that.
Yeah.
But he's working with a couple of up and coming artists that are actually. So he's still doing some music production stuff. Some up and coming artists. One in particular that as soon as she finishes up this final track, we'll be releasing an album, which. I've gotten to do some work with her, and she's phenomenal. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that, and maybe we'll have her on to talk about her music, which I think would be great. Man, she's a great interview. She's a lot of fun.
The tagline from our show is like we just need to make it clear that we are two idiots that nobody has any business talking to, but we're going to do it anyways.
Absolutely.
Especially if they want to come on.
And
I will be nice to you. I will talk to you.
I will
ask
say
you
all
questions.
the things. Yeah.
I'll be super cool, but you have no business talking to me.
Yeah. There was there were a couple of things that we really didn't get to dive into that I wanted to, and one of the biggest ones, and I think that's one of the reasons we'll have to get him on again, is his time in Tuscany, talking about like how Italy was one of those places he wanted to go to. I want to try some of Chef Eddie G's coffee.
He dropped that subtly, and he talked about it for a minute. I'm just like, where do I get this coffee?
Yeah,
other than Amazon,
right? And it'll come out in a couple of weeks, and we've got all this other stuff going. He's merchandising everything.
I need coffee right now, and I need some of that coffee right now.
So you've watched the show, right?
Yeah.
And the progression from the first episode on, because he literally was using a Shure microphone hooked up to the camera, and you can hear the wind blowing. And then there's a couple of moments that are a little awkward at the beginning because he does have it scripted out where the chef does not look comfortable.
Yeah.
He looks like he's reading a script, or having to say somebody else's words. But when it gets to, especially the part where he's making food for other people with the ingredients from their region and something that they've never tried, when they were in Guadalajara, and this was another thing that we didn't get into, is some of the stuff that they had to do to go to Guadalajara because it's such a dangerous spot for tourists or for non-residents. The blanched potatoes that he made with the locally sourced tequila looked really intriguing. And so there's a couple of those things that like I think having Chef Eddie on would be an absolute blast.
Let's keep this train going, man.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a lot of fun. And not bad for like
let's
first
have him
interview.
Let's have him cook a meal.
I'm not afraid.
I'm not going to ask him to do that.
I will, or maybe maybe after we interview him, maybe we'll make the trip up to New York.
Well, yeah, we'll get some locally sourced horned lizards out here, and we'll put them on a skewer and fry them up.
We brought some.
We got your armadillo.
Yeah,
we found it on the road.
We got
outside.
Armadillo. We got
all locally sourced
oil and yellow roses. What are you gonna do with that, Chef Eddie?
Oil and yellow roses. Good job.
Yeah, basically just we have an armadillo and some poison.
That was a textbook yes and.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, hey, I think that does it for us, man.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for checking us out. Make sure that you like and subscribe on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, and a couple of other places that have added us within the last few weeks. So that's pretty cool.
Also.
Also
we are wanting to do a share the episode, and you'll be put into a drawing for some merch.
For some Reverend Rep gear. So make sure that you do that, and if you haven't checked us out on Instagram and Facebook, do that as well, because there's some exclusive content, some behind the scenes stuff that is coming out on there, and there's a lot of stuff that we keep people up to date on throughout the week, and things that are happening in our lives that we do not share on the podcast. But for the people that follow us, you guys can check that out if for whatever reason you want to know more about what's happening in the lives of the actual Reverend and the actual Reprobate.
Man, we just kept on talking past it. Hey, it was a good show.
It was a good show. Great job, everybody. We'd like to thank our production crew, the Invisible Man and his friend,
and Kyle's bathroom.
Yeah, and Kyle's impacted bathroom.
We're gonna keep him in our prayers.
Yep. Hashtag pray for Kyle.
Kyle, you're important to us,
as always. He's missed like 2 months of shows. Like, is he even?
He's those adult diapers are.
You know
hard
what
to
we're gonna
get?
We're gonna get angry text messages that say we didn't invite him.
No, I did.